Are you 65 years or older? Good news. Illinois has expanded its Medicaid health insurance program to everyone 65 and older, regardless of your immigration status. Need help to apply? Contact United African Organization, UAO, WhatsApp, SMS, IL65 to 773-420-8976. It's true. For most people, your health insurance program increases as you grow older. That's why the state of Illinois has expanded its Medicaid health insurance program to everyone 65 and older, regardless of your immigration status. Need help to apply? Contact United African Organization, UAO, WhatsApp, SMS, IL65 to 773-420-8976. If you are 65 years and older, there's one thing we can all agree on. Your health and well-being is important. Whether you are a recent green card holder or retiree, asylee or without paper, you're now eligible for the Illinois Medicaid Health Insurance Program. Need help to apply? Contact United African Organization, WhatsApp, SMS, IL65 to 773-420-8976. Documents needed to apply: your proof of ID, your proof of address, and your proof of income.
Hello, welcome to the Ghana Agenda. I think I'm having a quick mic trouble here. Let's.
Just one more pic, JJ, please.
Oh, Mama, really?
Smile. It's not every day my eldest son graduates.
I couldn't have done it without you.
All without Auntie Jane's generous support.
Here is to Auntie Jane's well-appreciated World Remit money transfers.
World Remit Corporation is licensed as a money transmitter by the New York State Department of Financial Services, as a foreign transmittal agency by the Massachusetts Division of Banks, number FT1179663, and licensed by the Georgia Department of Banking and Finance, NMLS 1179663, Massachusetts Foreign Transmittal License, FT1179663.
World Remit, a better way to send money. Download the app or visit worldremit.com.
All right, welcome to the Ghana Agenda. My name is Aframuzu. Please let me know if you can hear me. I'm beginning to have some sound issues from the go, but I'm sure it's clear now. Today is February 5th, and today's show is packed. I have a special guest joining me today. And so Lifetime Legacy is already saying it's clear, which means we're good. Now, today we are having three things to talk about. We are talking about E-levy. There's been so much proffered in terms of justification. Are you buying into that justification? The other thing we want to talk about quickly is there seems to be a return of coup d'etats in our hemisphere. So far, we've witnessed about 4 countries, 2 already this year, that has gone that way. Are coups back in fashion? What are the root causes? What is causing, these military juntas or militants to actually decide to overthrow their governments? And when these things happen, we see the citizens actually get on the street and jubilate. Coups, the solution going forward. We'll tackle that and get under the root causes, not just the symptoms, not just the issues of the unemployment, etc., etc. Are the unemployment issues structural? And if they are structural, does changing government from one perhaps president to another solve that problem? So that will be the second thing we talk about. The third thing is along the same lines. We have the new IGP, Dampare, and also Henry Quartey, making a lot of waves in our capital, Accra, and other big cities. Now, are these waves or trends or solutions that we are seeing them implement currently just hypes, or are they sustainable? Is it that when those individuals are no longer at pose, that these solutions that we currently see, the cleaning effort, etc., will those things continue when those individuals are on leave, transfer, or are no longer in those positions? Do we have the institutional capacity? These are the questions that I have in my mind on this Saturday afternoon, and I'll be posing them to my guests who are well prepared, researched, read so much about this topics, and would be educating us today. Today, like I said, we are having with us a special guest. I would introduce him, and I'm sure you will love him. Now, if you haven't already done so, please share the link and chill, relax, get something to drink. This show is going to be serious today. We are going to be talking about lots of good stuff. I can already see my green room is filled up with Efa Mayao, my special guest, Lifetime Legacy. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back and we'll jump right into the topics table for discussion. We will be right back.
Are you 65 years or older? Good news. Illinois has expanded its Medicaid health insurance program to everyone 65 and older, regardless of your immigration status. Need help to apply? Contact United African Organization, UAO, WhatsApp, SMS, IL65 to 773-420-8976. It's true. For most people, your health insurance program increases as you grow older. That's why the state of Illinois has expanded its Medicaid health insurance program to everyone 65 and older, regardless of your immigration status. Need help to apply? Contact United African Organization, UAO, WhatsApp, SMS, IL65 to 773-420-8976. If you are 65 years and older, there's one thing we can all agree on. Your health and well-being is important. Whether you are a recent green card holder or retiree, asylee or without paper, you're now eligible for the Illinois Medicaid health insurance program. Need help to apply? Contact United African Organization, WhatsApp, SMS, IL65 to 773-420-8976. Documents needed to apply: your proof of ID, your proof of address, and your proof of income.
All right, let me use this show to dedicate happy birthday, or to say a happy birthday to my sister, Doris Doe. Doris, you're turning old today. One more year added to your age, and we are happy to celebrate you on the Ghana Agenda. Doris Doe, happy birthday. All right, now let me bring in my guests who are patiently waiting. So, ladies and gentlemen, drum rolls for our honorable, hardworking spokesperson for the new Patriotic Party, Mr. Efa Mayao. Mr. Efa, thanks for joining the show. I think your camera, it's giving us, it's frozen at the moment. Yeah, we can see you. Oh my God, you are looking wonderful. And thanks for joining the show, Mr. Efa.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. So today, we would also be joined by His Excellency, Lifetime Legacy, who's been helping us, digest some of the complicated issues. He speaks for the new National Democratic Party. He's a graduate student here in the United States, but very active in politics back home in Ghana. Mr. Lifetime Legacy, welcome to the show. We are happy to have you. Your camera may be a little dim, perhaps it's your lighting, but again, we appreciate you joining the show. How are you today? Anything to say?
I'm doing well, and thank you for the opportunity to be on the platform once again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
My brother is looking good today. I'm not surprised. He's in government.
So what are you saying? The government
Lifetime legacy. You see, there are people who are not in government, but they're making money more than those who are in government too. So
it is true. There is a likelihood that those people still have connection with those in the government. As
that's true.
As the accounts will say,
all right. So we are getting messages already. One from Kumaho Justice says, good evening. He's watching us and we are grateful. Thanks for watching. We also have Togi Hanyo, Chief of Aflau. We are very proud of his support and grateful. He's watching us. He says, good job, Mr. Agenda. Thank you so much, Togi. Really appreciate it. Regina, my only sister, who keeps supporting this program. day in, day out. Regina, thanks for joining. Please tell a friend to join. Alfredo Muzu and the team are in. My best of friends who take their time to do the research and come to educate us week by week, and we appreciate everything they do for the show. And so thanks for joining, Regina. And now let me bring my special guest who I've been trying to track down to join the show for a very long time, but finally got to him today. He's my own brother, Kwame Fuji, aka also known as Estonian Burger, the only burger with one city. Did I get that right, Estonian?
You got it just about right.
Good.
Thanks for having me on the show. It's a pleasure being here, sir.
Thank you. So since this is the first time you are joining, the man we have on the top on my side of the screen is Efa Amayao. He speaks for the MPP. The one in the bottom is Lifetime Legacy, who speaks for the NDC. And you are coming in as a neutral, and you'll be helping us kind of depoliticize everything we'll hear from them, because they are going to be very political. I want you to be the sanitizer for me, please. All right.
I'll do my job as client.
Thank you so much. Gents, welcome to the show again. I would like to first take any preliminary comments that you want to make before we go into the three things we table for discussion. One is that we've heard a lot from the government about E-levy. This last week, we were bombarded actually with explanations and justifications for why it is important for us to actually introduce a levy like, the ones being proposed or the one on the bill. And so my question is, how are you taking these justifications in? Are you buying into them? Do you need to hear more? And are you sold on whether E-levy should be implemented? And the second thing is, we have some strong men currently in positions appointed by the government, for which we are all grateful. We have a solid what do you call him? We have a solid IGP, Inspector General of Police, who is currently making waves. His work has been seen by all of us. And on a daily basis, we hear where he's actually fighting crime on the forefronts. And our country is better for that. Now, how long can we keep that wave going or that trend going? Is it a person-oriented solution, or this is something that is a beginning of an institutional rebranding or institutional rebuilding that would be sustainable going forward? So those two are the Ghanaian context or the Ghanaian situations we want to talk about. But on a broader scale, we are seeing a lot of coups in our neighboring countries, Mali, Burkina Faso. On this show, we were talking a couple of weeks ago about the Accra Initiative, which is an initiative to protect the countries to the south of Burkina Faso from the jihadis, activities that we are seeing from the north. The jihadis have so far crossed into, places like Benin. They had incursions in Ivory Coast. So for Ghana, we managed to deploy troops to the northern section of our country to ensure that these jihadist activities do not spill over. But recently, a couple of weeks ago, we all heard that Burkina Faso has fallen to the military, or the president has been removed from power. Are coup d'etats the new trend? Would they solve our problems, or our problems so structured so that without changing the structure, you can change the government, but these problems remain with us? So those are the three things that we table for discussions. These are the thoughts I have, and I want you to help me or educate me from all the research you've done or from everything you've heard, not only educating me, but also to the listeners who may also be interested, I'm sure are interested in this. So let's start from the MPP side. Mr. Efa, welcome to the show again. I don't know if your camera is frozen again, but yes, you're not frozen. So Efa, let's hear from you. We've heard a lot from governments in terms of justifications for the E-levy. Are there some more that you want to offer? And personally, are you sold on what we've heard so far in terms of levying the citizenries whenever they transact business and decides to pay using the electronic means? Have you heard everything you've heard so far? Are you satisfied? Do you have additional justifications that you want to put forward for us to analyze today?
Thank you very much, Mr. Amuzu. Welcome, my co-panelists. There are some people I'm waiting for them to join. I don't know if they told you they're not coming today, even though we have the panel to do justice to the topic. But, you know, if for some reason they can't join us, we want to know if they are well or they are engaged or, you know, something. If they are engaged in something else, that's fine, because sometimes things get in, but if they are not well, so we can reach out to them and wish them speedy recovery and stuff like that. So thank you once again for the opportunity for us to come here and offer what we think is our version of what it takes to develop Ghana, to do certain things right, you know, to continue to do what is expected of us as government, opposition, and as citizens, and all that kind of stuff. I want to welcome Mr. Kwame Fuji, right?
Yes,
but I like the Estonia burger. I like that one, man. Yeah. Welcome on board. Here sometimes it get heated. You know, passion and love for country and party sets in and stuff like that. So you don't be carried away. Don't be surprised to hear certain things from us. We're used to that here. And then the host will do a good job of trying to, you know, position us in our position and stuff like that. But it is important that when we get opportunities like this, right? I am replaceable. All of us are replaceable. But, you know, for some reason, we are the ones that have been given the opportunity. So we bring on board what our knowledge is, the truth, honest truth. And sometimes we may have a personal and biased opinion and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, we should channel all towards one, making sure that this platform have the credibility, have the respect, and continue to get the listenership out there to build, you know, the platform, not just for us now, but for future and for the generation, and, you know, for others to come and learn, and for a lot to come out of it. I want to say that when we come here and for some reason, you know, we go off track, you know, we're human. So, you know, you can bring us back with there's no need for sometimes a back and forth antagonism and stuff like that. So that's all I want to say for the preliminaries. Now, so going to the E-levy, me sitting here, right? If you see, everybody saying something about the E-levy has a point.
Right.
As a country, our tax collection and what we've done with it, you know, the citizens have a reason to ask, to keep asking. We've been giving you this. What is it that we're getting from it? If you look at the rate at which, you know, corruption has permeated every fabric, every aspect of our life in the country, you know, they always have a reason to say, sir, because of this and that reason, I may resist it. And generally, you know, people always have had cause to talk about new taxes. You see, here we don't hear about them because the fighting is mostly done at the legislative level, where you see them really boxing it out and bringing it. It is in few cases that, you know, one or two, you hear people, you know, getting on the street to say, no, we don't like this and we don't like, but each day, each time they bringing it and all that. Right. But you see, the difference is that for here, you know, even if you are resisting it, you see the development and, you know, you see the roads, you see the schools, you see the infrastructure, you see measures put in place for the citizenry to feel part of what they're pushing for. When they go to the hospitals, when they're sick, the ambulance that come in and take them, you know, we see all these things compared to our part of the world where, you know, these things are not as high level or to the point where, you know, we can say we're proud of. So all these things are very important. The last point is that report after report indicates leakages and shortfalls and certain things that we need to do as a country, widening the tax net and all these kind of things. And government after government have tried it best, but we don't seem to have gotten to the part where, you know, we can say we've roped in all these taxpayers for us to get to a certain level of our tax collection for our development and stuff like that. Now, last week I made a comment and it's being quoted out of context. I said we've collected taxes, right? And I'm going to repeat it again. And we have little to show for. And what I simply mean by that is that, I mean, we all know that the taxes that we collect for these It is used for consumption and interest payments, right? A little bit go into some kind of social intervention here and there. But our major projects are all loan funded and grants and stuff like that. You know, so that is what I mean. And for us to be able to shift from, you see, this statement of I don't know if anybody made it, and I'm not really going to go too much into that of the E-levy. You know, there's a consistency of statements that have been listed and be attributed to some, and I'm going to quote a few. If we don't get the E-levy, the economy will collapse. No. Whoever will say that, no, it's not true.
But this is coming from.
But it's not true.
It's coming from people like the Minister of Finance. It's coming from
no.
Like
no. Are they coming from Chairman Sabunsu or something like that?
Yeah, let me actually get
specific expressions.
So, for instance, Furiata says if you don't have E-levy, we have to go back to the IMF. There would be no salaries for government workers if E-levy is rejected. That is Kajopon Nkrumah. Furiata again says E-levy will create 11 million jobs. So there are few of those. NAPCO has ended pay E-levy so that government can create more jobs, etc., etc.
Right. So some of these statements are true. I'm not saying all of it, but some of them. I personally sitting here, the finance minister may have more information than I do. You know, they privy and direct to them, but the information that we've had and the way we know Ghana's economy, the GDP, blah, 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 and all the money we've been collecting so far and blah, blah, blah. I will be surprised to see this government going into IMF because we are not able, if this E-levy does not come on. No, I will be very surprised. And in fact, if it happens, believe you me, I will hate my government.
Why would you do so? I mean, because
there's no need for that. We can do without going to IMF.
But the government is saying
the estimation is 3 billion, right? If we go now, the last time we went, it was over a billion. It was less than a billion, right?
Yeah, I think we got a billion or something like that.
No, it was 930 970 million. 900 million, right? You're telling me, if anybody sits here and tell me that we cannot find a way to collect $3 billion in the country right now without going to the IMF, I'll laugh at that person.
Well,
I would disagree with such a person.
Even the money we are trying to raise out of the E-levy wouldn't make it to $3 billion, by the way.
I got it. Yeah, I got it. But you see, we have to, if we really want to get ourselves off depending on others for things we do, we really have to do more. We really have to do a lot internally. Right. And it is not just about collection, right? It is about a whole lot, you know. And you see, if you read the 2022 budget, right, there is a lot in there that seems to satisfy. You know, there is I think there's an increase. There is a way, I don't have those, but I think maybe you may be privy to that. They're going to rope in more people into the tax net. You know, there is something like that. They're doing it. The pace is slow. Whatever reason, I don't get it. There is a lot of, the IMF said, and I've always said it, there is a lot of exemptions for businesses.
Right.
Especially businesses that are well established already, coming in again, and government after government have given them exemptions and exemptions. These are just simply too much.
Well, so that's a different side of the argument, right? Because people are using that as if you can just get the exemption bill through Parliament, then we can save some money from all these exemptions that we grant to companies in order to attract them to come to our show. We can minimize that and perhaps save about 2 billion or so annually. So you don't need E-levy. There are things you can do right now, like that exemption bill. So that's
but you see, no. You see, the argument that blah blah blah, we don't need E-levy, I don't buy that either. You see, All these things we bring in, we need more. Because you see, if you look at the budget, right, financing it, a lot depends on loans. Right? So when you bring all these things in, they are additions. They are not the total that you need for you to get to that level of self-dependence.
Okay.
And we cannot, you see, a quick one. You see, if we don't speak the hard truth, and if we don't do things different from the way we're doing, I know, and the other side will play politics with it and try to, but you see, any party will just come into power and we'll be talking the same thing, and then it will just be a switch of conversation. This one now will oppose, this one will say let's do it. Okay. So for me sitting here, I think that the E-levy should come. It is good. It is going to help. Maybe we've not done a good job of explaining it well, and there's a big push because taxes people will push against it. Right. And I like the continuous education and stuff like that. But I will not be surprised if it passes. All these extra stuff that we are in, we need them. We need to fight corruption. We need to rob in more money. We need all these things so that we can take care of certain things. There are a lot of projects that we need to put online, but all these things are on hold. Because we are always giving the excuses of we don't have enough, and the loans that are coming, we need to use it for blah, 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 and then we leave the others. And then people will be fighting and talking. But you see, one thing that in fact that makes me support this thing is the employment side, the U-start thing. The other, you see, they are adding too much to it that it is indirect. It is not directly linked to it. So when people tend to talk about it, then we directly link it to it. No, not necessarily, right? Yeah. Indirectly, that is one of the benefits we're going to have on that. So for me, I support it. It is important. I'm going to say Lifetime Legacy and Estonia Boga. You guys all should help us. It's going to be an additional income for the country, for the development we need, for the employment we need, so that we can pick our role in global and African affairs as the beacon that we all ascribe ourselves to and we all pride ourselves to. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I have a few questions that I'll come back to you after the two guests.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah. And so let's go to Lifetime Legacy for the NDC's rebuttal. Now, Lifetime Legacy, are you still with us? Okay, great. Lifetime Legacy. This is the government that has been in power for the last 5 years. They came on the back of the promise that you don't need to raise taxes to solve the problems of this country, that we are a resource-rich country, that we need productivity. 5 years down the line, we are being told that like Faja said, E-levy and all these other use taxes, which E-levy is not, additional sources of funds that perhaps we can use to develop our country. And some of the examples we have been actually getting is that without it, the economy is actually going to be in trouble. What is going on? And I have a comment here from one Mr. Ruben, who is a driver. Ruben is saying, "Good evening, please. We are suffering. Our expenditures are higher than income. So please, you people should handle this E-levy case well for us. I'm a driver and I'm feeling the heat. My name is Selassie." Thank you, Selassie. How do you respond to Selassie? Is it that, the NDC has some magic powers that when they come, they wouldn't need those resources? Because what it appears to be like is that we don't necessarily have the resources that perhaps that Akufo-Addo was saying before he even came into government. See, he said, which means we actually have, things, money. We are sitting on money. So where is that money?
Alfred, that statement is still true. And when I get my turn, ask me. I will explain. Sorry for the interruption.
No problem at all. So take it away, Lifetime Legacy.
Thank you, Alfred, and my co-panelists. I will officially welcome my brother, Estonia Boga, for joining us. As my senior brother have said, sometimes the platform get heated, but the ultimate for it getting heated is for love for our country.
Right.
Yeah. So don't be surprised to see us sometimes descending in a way that you will be surprised. It's part of the conversation.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, to go back, before I go and answer the main question my brother posed, I will strongly agree with my brother. If I wish he's here and you do listening, that I agree with him to the extent that he says that
He said he's listening. It's just that he's not. Yeah, he's listening. So go ahead.
Yeah, taxes are very important for development. I agree. And NDC as a party that have a track record of development, we couldn't have achieved all these without support from the citizenry through a means of taxing. So we believe in tax, but what we don't believe in is a lazy man approach to tax.
Okay.
And my brother Ifa
explain that. My mother is listening. He doesn't understand.
My brother Ifa, I'm surprised this afternoon the U-turn from his end. Last year on this very platform, when he first heard that the tax was introduced, he was one of the people who was strongly against it and even described it as lazy man approach. But I don't know, like I said last week on this very show, MPP are very good when it comes to binding themselves together for a common goal. Even if they don't like it, they are very united when it comes to that regard. They might not like them idea. In principle, my brother Ifa might not like the idea, but with the mere fact that it's coming from his government, he will support it so that he don't seem to be opposing the government openly. But when you go deep in his heart, in principle, he doesn't agree. So, like he said, I strongly agree with him. Taxes that are collected, if they are used judiciously, nobody or citizen will not complain. Like he himself have cited clearly, he said that there's so much tax we are paying here in the US, but what the outcome is, because we are all enjoying the outcome, we are not complaining. And he even went further to say that is not what we can see in our country, Ghana, and to be precise, his government is doing. So there's no way I can agree with him. I will agree with him that yes, it is true that to him much is given, much is what is expected. So I agree strongly with my brother Ifa that his government is not doing well. As far as the resources that have been to their disposal, they are not using it judiciously. We are not seeing the benefits of it. So coming to us again to demand more, we have every reason to question the need for this particular tax. Alfred, I also add that, you see, this government introduced other measures of collecting tax. For instance, government services have been increased to 15%. I am sure that if you listen to the airwaves, we, the NDC, even though we don't agree about it, if you notice, we are not talking about it much.
So what you mean is that for you to access any internal government service, for instance, if you want to get your driver's license, you want to get your passport and all these other things that you have to get from the government, that the prices for those things have been increased by 15%.
Yes. So like I was saying,
effective
even though in principle, we don't agree about the quantum, but if you have noticed from the airways, we have been so much silenced on that particular one, unlike the E-levy, because we perceived that particular 15% increment, even though, like I said, we don't agree with the quantum. It's a legitimate means to raise money.
Okay.
So if you notice clearly, we are not talking about it like that of the E-levy. We are emphasizing much on the E-levy because that is a day robbery, nickel thievery.
What do you mean?
You get it?
Explain that.
Yes, I'm saying this because at the end of the month, when people get their salary, before the salary hits into their account, the government takes what belongs to him. Okay, through tax. So that is a legitimate means. We don't have a problem with that. But if I decided that what I've earned at the end of the month, okay, I decided that I am not keeping it in my bank account, I am not keeping it under my bed, I am not keeping it inside my local susu box that we used to have, we made out of wooden structure. I am not keeping that money in any of this. but decided that I'll have that money on my mobile phone so that anywhere I go, I have my mobile phone with me. I can access the money at any time. Then you come back and say you want to tax. That is a robbery.
Right.
You get it? And my brother Ifa will agree with me that yes, this is a daylight thievery or robbery. So we NDC, we are against it because like somebody posed a question to the finance minister during their outreach program in Kofodia, that where does this tax, particular the E-levy, in which category does this fall? I agree strongly with the person. You get it? So, like I said, we will continue to oppose it, and we are not going to lend our support to it. They can use all Machiavellian tactics to...
Even though they kind of reduce the rates, they are proposing that they are going to reduce the rate from the proposed 1.75% to now 1.5%. And chances are they may even go a little lower. You are saying that you wouldn't agree with that?
So, like to quote a journalist, one of the what do you call it, strong journalists in Ghana, this week I listened to, even though as funny as his word might sound, it's sound logic. It says that it's called something Dazi in Joy FM. He said, and I quote, you approach a woman, you decided to rape a woman, and you say that, oh, I'm intending to rape you just for one round. I'm not going to a second round. That is the kind of thing we are talking over here. You get it? The fact is, the quantum,
that's a very, I don't know if that's a really good example, but
yeah. So even though it was made by, I think it's called Daniel Dazi of Joy FM.
Right, but
even though it might not sound palatable, but the reality, it makes sense. You get it? What we are saying is that what you are taxing is criminal. It's unlawful. You get it? And you are saying, oh, even though we are taxing you, we want to reduce the rate. It's indirect, like trying to equate it to what the gentleman said to his listeners. I strongly agree with him. Rape is a crime. And they are saying you want him to rape, and you said, "Oh, I'm only going one round."
And again, let's use something else. Maybe we can say slapping. I'm gonna slap you, and I will slap you twice instead of once. But yeah, Akko Radio, my boss, Edward Ofori, Dr. Edward Ofori wants me to tell you that Akko does not condone rape. Just so we can get that out there.
Oh yeah, that is why I said that it is unlawful. Okay, we are only citing it as an example. Okay, a statement made by a journalist. Like I said, it's unpalatable, but when you look at the rationale and the motive of the statement he made, I mean, the logic makes sense. But so I'm not indulging that. I'm not in any way justifying that act. So it's the same thing. My brother Ifa and his government are telling us that even though the E-levy have no form in taxation, they are justifying it by reducing the rates. It doesn't still justify or make it legitimate. That is what that I want to say.
Let me give you this question from Ato Kwamina Beidou. This is not our Ato. This is another Ato, who is also part of the Akko family. And thanks for watching the show, Dr. Ato. He says that Mr. Legacy should speak to him for himself and stop saying we to imply the NDC. He means that he said, I've watched interviews where NDC leadership spoke vociferously against the 15% increase in charges for forms and the government services you were referring to.
Alfred, I think I made it clear that in principle, we don't agree. I said I have made that statement on this platform. That in principle, we don't agree in the quantum.
The NDC doesn't agree. Yes.
But we are not saying much about it because it is a legitimate tax.
Okay.
I think I've made my point very, very, very clear.
Right.
You get it. So, like I said, and I still stand by it, the NDC, we are opposed to the 15% in terms of the quantum, but it's a legitimate tax. If the government want to go ahead, which I know they have started implementing, but our emphasis is on the E-levy, which we all know, and my brother, if I also agree that it's a daylight thievery, that one, we oppose it with the last blood in us. We will not going to side with the government. We'll continue to be on the side of the ordinary Ghanaian whose taxes are sustaining the country. Now, there are so many ways.
Here's another thing for you. He says that what you are taxing is criminal and unlawful, according to what you said. And he says, on what basis, do you think are you making those assertions? Nothing you have said so far substantiates the assertion you've made. So what do you mean that what they are taxing is criminal? Or I don't think you use the word criminal. What you're saying is it's thievery. What do you mean by that? You haven't really substantiated.
I have explained. Maybe my brother was trying to be
that is bothering you, because a lot of people are making the equity argument that if me and you go out to the market and purchase the same thing, right? The mere fact that you are paying with cash meaning that you are not going to bear the burden of this tax.
Absolutely.
Which kind of creates an equity issue.
Absolutely.
The tax should affect you and I equally. But the government's argument is that it is not the product you are buying that we are trying to tax. It is convenience of using a payment platform that we are imposing the tax on. And, and there are so many different other arguments. So is it an equity argument that you're really trying to make by saying that it is unjust?
Alfred, you see, like I said earlier on, let me give you a personal experience. Okay, my passport got
1 minute, so we can move to the next person.
My passport got expired a few years. I think about a few months ago. I went to New York to get my passport renewed. I paid close to $170 to get my passport in 2 weeks.
Right.
Okay. So if the government decided that, okay, I am going to take 300 or 400 Ghana instead of the previous 100 Ghana for the passport, which is considered express but delay. If the government says, oh, I am going to take 300 for that same passport, okay, but I'll make sure that you get your passport in 2 weeks. Why should I 5 days? Provided that they are going to live by their words. You get it? So that one, for me, makes sense. You get it? Unlike the government telling me that...
The example you're making. So how does that relate to the issue of imposing tax on...
So that fall within the 15% increment of government services. Okay. So if the government is going to do that, and at the end of the day, like my brother Ifa said, that the taxes we are paying so much in this country, but we are getting the end result of what we are paying for. If it is in that regard, that the passport will be delivered in 2 weeks for the reason why they are collecting that 15%, it makes sense. But what does not make sense here that we are all against is that after taking all those taxes, you say that if I decided to pay to the passport service by mobile money, you are taking 1.75% vis-a-vis my brother who is decided to pay with a banker's draft or pay direct. You get it? That is what we are saying, that in as much as it's unfair, it is also daylight thievery.
All right.
You get it?
Got it. Okay, thank you so much for those strong comments from the NDC side. Let's go to my neutralizer, Mr. Kwame Fuji, and thanks for joining the show today. Kwame, the real problem here is that we are unable to raise enough revenue. If you look at the sub-Saharan Africa, right? A lot of the countries are doing about 15% of their tax revenue, their revenue from taxes, or their GDP from taxes. We are about 12%. It is clear for the two parties that we need to improve how much taxes we collect to support our growth agenda. There are just so many ways we can do it. Lifetime Legacy is saying that you could have increased the internally generated funds that the ministries and the departments usually charge on services. And the government has done some of that. The government has already increased that by 15%. Would 20% be allowable? Would 30% be what we are happy with? No matter how you skin this cat, there would be complaints. Now, the government is also saying that, well, look at it this way. We can increase, let's say, the internally generated funds by slapping about another 20 or whatever, 30% on increment on fees. But those fees will only be borne by people, for instance, who are interested in traveling, people who want driver's license. So it still wouldn't cover the broader base. But this singular act of imposing some type of levy on transactions immediately impacts everybody. And that will give us a bigger envelope or a bigger tax envelope. But that argument is not supported by the mere 6.9% that we are trying to raise. If we were getting 20, perhaps billion from, the E-levy, it might make sense because the gap between what we are even planning to spend this year alone and what we are going to be bringing in is about 37 billion. How would a government survive? If you were in the government or listening to these two, arguments that you've heard so far, what other options are there? Are we unnecessarily depriving our government of what it needs to develop us, to help us get to where we want to be? Of course, we like the roads we drive on in the United States here. Matter of fact, I go to work and it feels like my entire paycheck, about a significant portion of it is going to the government. But because I have a job, I don't complain. No matter how much taxes I pay, by the time I pay taxes, come and pay my rent and all these other things that are not centralized. It just happened that in Ghana, all that is centralized because electricity here is not centralized. I have to pay that to another company. By the time you finish paying all that, how much of your salary is left? I'm sure your parents are complaining that you haven't built the mansion that they expected you to build in Ghana. So we pay a lot of taxes in this country and we see the services. Why are we depriving our government of the resources needed to develop our country?
First of all, I would like to thank my co-panelists and thank you as well for having me on the show. This argument is quite interesting. So since days of yore, from previous governments, we've always had a problem with revenue generation, right? So in our part of the world, we want the developments, we want to grow, we want to do so many things, but we always have a problem when that money has to come from us some way, somehow. And then if you look at Ghana, there are a lot of tax loopholes, like the IMF country director said. There's a lot of tax exemptions that they give people. But here and again, you have to also look at the argument from this angle that a lot of these companies that come, of the mining companies, the oil companies, the ancillary companies that come with these organizations, they end up hiring a lot of Ghanaians. So by you, quote unquote, threatening them with different tax brackets and different increasing taxes, and they might decide, oh, you know what, even though we're going to scale down our operation, guess what? Now you've added more unemployment to the already deplorable employment situation in Ghana. First of all, that's the case. So just because revenue generation is a big problem with us, there's only a certain suspicion of government whenever they are trying to get money from the people, right? People have this suspicion that government doesn't do anything with the money that they give to the government. Because somebody made the argument that there are a lot of taxes that we are getting out of, a lot of royalties taxes that we are getting out of the oil thing. There are a lot of taxes and all kinds of stuff that we are getting from the mining sector, and there are so many other things. Why couldn't we have used some of these things to build the things that the MPP is saying or talking about? Right. But why is it that the E-levy, that the revenue that we're going to generate from the E-levy is not quite as substantial, but it's a chunk of money that could be used for something. Right. But once again, because the citizenry has a certain suspicion. They don't trust the government that much. And I think the NPP is also doing a very horrible job at selling this policy to us. Because there are several videos that you see, and some MP will stand somewhere and say, no matter what they do, we are going to pass it. We are the party government. No, you are not in an autocratic situation.
But it used to be that the government in power would have. We've never had a situation where parliament is this divided. It used to be that the government in power would have majority of the parliamentarians, so everything gets jumped through. So this is a new normal. It is not normal for the government to propose a revenue measure and have this difficulty trying to get it through parliament. It used to be rubber stamp, let it go.
Remember, we are in a different time now. If there were people were in government 8 years ago, social media wasn't as the way it is. Right. These days, all you have to do is just tweet something. It can be just a few sentences, a few statements. People don't have to dig in and understand what exactly the whole policy paperwork is. What exactly is going in there? Why this E-levy has to go into operation? People, they don't have time to explain. So once people hold the bits and pieces of information, all they have to do is just send it out there, and people hold it hook, line, and sinker, and then they just go with it. What I'm saying is, first of all, why this push for this E-levy in the first place? Why it seems that there is a certain rush with this E-levy, right? They come day or night. They want to just get it done. I understand the whole concept of revenue generation. And that comparison that we like to compare Ghana to the United States. United States is a whole continent on its own. Ghana is just a small country that's just about the size of Oregon. We like to compare this apples and all. United States has a tax system that people even out. Some people find ways to avoid the tax system. You're a tax guy. You know how to avoid to get certain exemptions to avoid. Recently, for example, they brought that Cash App and Zelle. If you receive certain monies for payments, they're going to tax it. $600 and above, yes. $600 and above. People that live in America understand the tax system. They understand they benefit some way, somehow, through a tax refund, through some sort of development, local development or community development. So they don't bother. The problem that the MPP is having with the E-levy is that there is not a tangible justification why they need it for development, because people's argument is they've borrowed quite substantially over the past 5 years.
Right.
And it's the same thing with the NDC. But if I remember clearly, before the Mahama government left, Seth Teta and Co., they were trying to generate some sort of fund locally. And it's the same thing as the E-levy. But the way it was done in a way that was going to tax like companies and organizations that were producing things in Ghana. With this E-levy, most of the people that actually use this system are people that are not making too much money. Most of the rich people that are going to transact big monies and stuff, they're not really going to use this service.
They have access to the bank, yeah.
Correct. So these are the normal average people who want to go and get tomatoes from somewhere. And now, because of the armed robbery, and all, they would like to transact business using the Momo or mobile money system, because it is safer. Because I've sent the money already to this person, I don't need to carry any money on me. So in case we get robbed, there's nothing on me to be robbed.
Right.
But the way the government is going about it is what has created this suspicion and this misinformation and miscommunication. So what I'd like Ifa to explain to our audience is to why this. What is the connection? What's the developmental connection to this E-levy? If they're able to explain it in a more carefully analyzed way, I think Ghanaians would buy into it.
The point you are making is, it is not being explained enough. But is it because it is not explainable? There is no way you can, from my eyes mindset, right? There's no way you can explain to people that because I'm paying cash, you're not gonna tax me, but because this guy is paying with, E-levy platform, you're going to tax them. Is there a way to explain that to where it makes sense? Is it explainable or is not explainable? Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing I said earlier was there's a certain suspicion of government in the first place. So once the citizens suspect the government, that the government is some way, somewhere criminal, quote unquote, in a way. Because there is always talk. People, whether with evidence or without evidence, people always tend to ascribe certain criminality to the government. First of all, that's a big problem that we have. And the behavior of some of this MP and some of this MPP stalwarts and supposed spokespeople, that is what the pushback is all about. But maybe the whole idea about this, because I've read somewhere, sometime this week, that the E-levy is going to be withdrawn from Parliament, they're going to go to the drawing table and come back again. But what I believe is if the MPP was truly about revenue generation, this E-levy should have probably been introduced in the first portion of the president's presidency, the first part of the first 4 years. But maybe looking at it strategically, maybe it wasn't a good move. Maybe he thought Ghanaians were going to push back and he might probably lose the elections. For that, I understand that politically. But if it's something that genuinely, they truly believed in, it was going to help Ghana generate all the funds, we wouldn't have to take up a lot of these loans. We could have just started this E-levy from 5 years ago.
But this is the government. This is the party that's, when they were in opposition, made a strong argument that taxing is not the way. That we are sitting on money. We are actually a resource-rich country. That our problem, according to Baumia, our problem is how we manage these resources. So 5 years down the line, we are here arguing about extra taxes. Is this a failed government? If you tell us that we already have the resources.
You cannot quite say it's a failed government just yet. A far and lifetime legacy, no, that is not a failed government. But the point here is this: when somebody wants power, the behavior, it's like a lot of us men over here.
So
let me give an example.
That's what you're saying.
It could be, but I don't want to use deception quite yet. Let me give you an example. All of us here, we are all men. I'm going to use a better example than a lifetime legacy over here. Like when you see a woman, you will say all sorts of things just for the woman to love you. It is the same thing that the government did. They said all kinds of things to woo Ghanaians to vote for them. But when they came, you see, when they came into the government, now they realize, oh snap, the situation is not as what it looks like. It's the same thing the NDC will do as whenever they want to come to power. They will say all manner of things, and there'll be excuses. So I believe at that time, whatever facts or whatever research that they have, that's what propelled them to say what they had said.
Right.
So there is a video going around. I don't know if Ifa or Lifetime Legacy has seen it. They asked a guy that Nana Akufo-Addo made a statement that Sikasu upon there. Do you know what the guy said? It's not him that made the statement, so he can't back it.
Right.
It's quite funny that you cannot back your own statement. Some of the statements Baumia and Co had made, it is the reason why they are getting some of this backlash now, because they created a certain.
You know, it's important. What you say is very important, especially when you're running for government or you're trying to lead a country, as important as ours. What you say is important, and people will hold you accountable for it. You cannot deceive the people just to become. And so, my big question, really, and I was hoping that Daniel will be here so I can pose this to him, is that every campaign, we hear these things that, our country is a resource-rich country. It has things, code, cocoa, name it, we have it. Talent, we have it. That is just the management. But then, apparently, or clearly, what we are seeing is that it is not so. All our governments, name a government that hasn't actually gotten into some financial difficulties. Perhaps maybe Kufuor and Atta Mills didn't plunge us into any catastrophic economic problems. But it is that no matter who comes into power, there are structural economic issues. They are unable to give us jobs. Our youths continue to be unemployed. So all these promises they make never come into fruition. Does it mean that people or we who vote for them should actually be clear on the things we have, or we should demand? In other words, I'm trying to get us to be in a position where we don't take those things from them. When you come and tell us that we sit on whatever, we should know that this is that. It is that we don't have the resources. Is it about time for our politicians to be honest with it, upfront with us? The saying that Yetina Sikasu Akomdiye, we just are mismanaging our resources, it's not true. It is not that your management style will give us any better results. The result we've been getting so far is that you are unable to solve our structural problem. We have deep structural problem. And until we solve that, we'll have governments come and go and we'll be deceived. Is that your feeling as well?
I mean, so what it is, in America, they have a system. That's why, for example, when Trump came, he was trying to do certain things. The system was able to arrest him one way or the other, right? We don't have a structure that is a plug and play. So if I can be president, Lifetime Legacy can be president, he will go in and he will basically have to kowtow to the system, right? But we don't have anything like that. Our economic system is at best a mishmash. We are basically trying to have some sort of social system, some sort of capitalist system, and it's neither here nor there. So once you have a system that's not quite clear, that's not very defined, you can have anybody come in, they do their own thing. Initially, I think today we were talking about having one person kind of situation. It's not going to work out that way. There are certain organizations that you show up, you're just going to plug and play. You can add certain differences, twist things, change, but our structures that we have economically is very difficult. That's why a lot of you said something about accountability. When our people, we have a certain culture where you cannot quite question somebody that's older. Any of us here, I think Fadi is older than all of us. If let's say we're journalists and we ask a question in a way that seems that we are holding his feet to the fire, the whole internet will go because they look at this young man. He's trying to be disrespectful. We have a problem with that as well. So these days, people have a certain freedom on social media. And for example, I don't like his methods. I don't like somebody like the guy in New York, something. Right? I don't like how he goes about it. But in a way, he's sort of holding people's feet to the fire. I don't like his method. I'm not approving him or anything. But people are forced to it.
I think it's just the insults that kind of annoys people. He could have done the same thing without insulting, and then that would be
correct. But the point I'm making here is this: holding people accountable. You said something that there is deception. I don't like to use the word deception quite yet because it's a very strong word. Maybe they try to sort of woo us. It's also quite a lie. It's just a way of doing business, especially with politics. They want one way or the other to get your votes. So with our situation, you cannot demand accountability where the person that you are even demanding accountability doesn't even see that they've done anything wrong to you.
Right.
That is where we have the problem.
That promise is not binding, right? All right.
Correct. Because there's nothing that you cannot hold your feet to the fire. The laws are unenforceable. You can't do anything about it. That's probably why some of these things are going on. But you go ahead.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you so much. I'm sure. Yes, let's get Afa in first. Afa, a lifetime, hold your thoughts. Afa, you had some things you wanted to respond to when, especially I said, what the president said, we have resources, we are just mismanaging them. Rawlings once said that, we should build institutions in this country so that even if the devil comes to rule over us, by the nature of the presence of those institutions, the devil will not be able to get away with anything. Here we are. Those institutions have not been built. Obviously, and this is going to be actually very prominent when we discuss our next topic. But I'll give you the opportunity to react to the things you hear so far. Do we have resources in our country that it is because we are mismanaging those resources, we are unable to build a country, and therefore we need to overly tax our people? Because just within a 2-year span, we've introduced sanitation levy, a COVID levy, and now we are on the verge of introducing an E-levy. We overtaxing our people. Prior to MPP coming to government, we have ESLA and all kinds of other taxes that the MPP complain about so much. Here we are. Since you came into power, I just mentioned so far 3 additional taxes that you've introduced and enhancements to the VAT and etc. Why have you all of a sudden found favor in the lazy man's approach? I think the file is frozen. Oh, you're not frozen.
No, I'm not. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. And lifetime legacy. When we started talking about E-levy, you said I was supposed to wait, and then I came back. I mean, you can send me the video. I don't really remember that, but maybe I might have said something that suggested that I was opposed to it. Okay,
right.
And initially, we all had to take our time and get the understanding of it and stuff like that. So you see, opinion differ, right? And they all matter towards arriving at decision. So somebody will say it's the lazy man's approach. Whichever way you take it, in that, you see, let me rephrase it this way. You see, NDC is not opposed to the taxation in this area. Don't get that. Right. What they are saying is that it's not time yet. That's what, in fact, two people, Masia Dunketia and Sam George, okay, or the way we are going about it is wrong. See, that is different from we don't want it. You get some of them saying
we've heard on so many platforms where they are like,
yeah, you hear some of them saying no. You hear some of them saying take it off. Some of them saying oppose it. Now, if you hear the official,
Bawumia does not support taxing of Momo. He said it clearly.
Okay, so Bawumia does not. He said when Bawumia. Let me finish. I'll bring in the Bawumia. I don't want to box all of it because
you're not only saying the MP from Pram and quoting other people without quoting your own, who clearly did not.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Thanks for bringing me in. It's fine. It's all part of the discussion so that we have a comprehensive understanding. Yeah. So if you look at the way NDC is opposing, right, it is not different from the way they oppose the communication tax. Right. But when they got the power, they increased it because it's good. They oppose it because the opposition is convenient for their political cause.
Right.
Okay. It is the same way they oppose some other stuff that was important, like the president wanting to shell some of his power. It's good politically, but deep down them, they know.
A quick interjection again. The MPP opposed the VAT. They came to power. They increased it. The MPP opposed Tesla. They came to power. They mortgaged it for 15 years. So again.
So So that justifies. If you add this, it justifies what I'm saying about MDC's opposition now. You're doing it for political purposes, and what you just said confirms that. Okay. So that when you are in opposition, just oppose it, and then even if it's good, and then so that you can win and come to power, right? But you see, the difference between the two oppositions is that we give options that, do it this way, do it that way, and because they were bent on the way they were going to do it, that is why, we had to take certain actions. Now, so let's go to Bawumia, what he said, and that is what brought in the 100 a day and then the 3,000 a month threshold. Okay. Now, if I heard Estonia Boga, right, say a lot of people in there are the poor. All of a sudden, right? You see, look at this conversation. You call people in Ghana, oh, we are not making any money. We don't have any money. But now there's a taxation, and the same poor is telling me that I cannot pay. I do more than 100 transactions a day and more than 3,000 transactions a month. Oh, really? I know a lot of the people the amount of money they're collecting, it is not even up to 1,000. I know people that are collecting 200 a month, 300 Ghana cedis a month. Okay?
It's a shame.
No. It's a shame, but that is not even the argument. But you see, a lot of these people are telling you, I collect 300 a month, but I make transactions 3,000 in a month. I mean, does that match up? Somebody is telling you, I don't have money, I'm poor. I am going to buy tomatoes, but every day I buy all these transactions. You
so
go
what's
together.
The point you're trying to make? I'm trying to get.
My point I'm trying to make is that you see, the poor that we are trying to rope in, they are not covered. The poor is not covered. Who in Ghana now, okay, will be making 3,000 Momo transactions a month?
So what are you saying? Are you saying that if you transfer more than, let's say, even if you transfer 200 cedis a day, that you are not poor? Is that what you're saying? What is your definition of poor person?
Exactly. The definition of poor, I don't know, right?
But
I don't know what the
can you hold your thought for a quick second? I don't know if you had read somewhere that the minister for the Western Regional Minister mentioned that the person that is defined as being poor is the person that makes 70 Ghana cedis a year.
I don't agree. I don't agree with him. I don't agree with him. Maybe he had wanted to say a month, but to say 70 Ghana cedis a year.
Even 70 Ghana a month.
I don't agree with him and all that. Okay.
I mean, are we saying that
640 Ghana cedis a year?
But okay, I don't agree with him, but I don't know the national definition for poverty. You see, here, I think in America, they have a certain amount of money you should be making a day for you to be classified as poor.
Yeah,
and it's actually
the UN definition of how much you make a day, for which classifies you as a poor person, right? I don't know what African and Ghana definition of this is, but we are taking it from what the definition the government has made. And you see, my submission here on the poor people not covered is that people are telling us that we don't have the money. Okay? But then you don't have it. But you are able to do 100 transactions of Momo a day and 3,000 transactions of Momo a year. And the law is saying is that, okay, when you do that, then you go into the taxable venture. For me, that makes sense. And that was you see, we are told that was what Bawumia put in as no, let's have a cap, which does not cover in the normal transaction that people are doing. The tomato seller, before this tax, the introduction of this, you know, the MTN people, when you go and do your transactions, you are charged. You receive, even if it is 1 CD you are transferring, you are charged. We have to rope this in. And me, honestly speaking, and knowing some of the people I know, my friends and family members, they don't make Momo transactions of 3,000 a month and 100 a day.
No, is it like 3,000 individual transactions, 1, 2, 3, up to 3,000, or the amount 3,000?
I'm reading something here that says the poverty line worldwide is actually about $2 per day. I mean, $2 per day. So $2
exactly.
Okay, go ahead.
So if you
$100 a day, 100 cedis a day, that is about $15 a day in transaction.
Exactly. You don't fall under poverty.
But we are not saying that this person has to, and then they are saying that if you do 3,000 a month, so you know.
Let me explain that aspect for us to understand. The 3,000 a month. You see, it shouldn't, you have a day. So the day 1, 2, 3, 100, 100, 100, 30, you know, it adds up to it. If you do, for instance, if you do, for instance, a day, 150, and then at the end of the month, you've done 2,000, the 150 you did will attract it. You get my point?
Yeah, you know what? Let's dwell there a little bit and kind of get people to understand. So basically what you are saying is, for instance, if you do, let's say, 1,000 this week, and you didn't do any other transaction for the rest of
the month,
you don't pay taxes. You don't pay E-levy. Is that what we are saying?
No. You do 1,000 a day, you will be charged.
Why? Because
let me understand that. Is it the 1,000
amount you did over the months? Because you have a 3,000 threshold for the months.
Yeah, right. So the 3,000 threshold for the month, right? You have 100 a day. You don't have 101 a day. So let's get that one too clear.
Yeah, see, this is where it tightens up again, you know, because if you had made it 3,000 a month, you know, people can transfer as much as 2,999 in the month and still not get paid, and that will lump in a whole lot of people, and this wouldn't be a big issue.
Right.
But when you make it 100 a day,
you can make that point. But you see, it is to take away the. You see, let us not, for the sake of argument, try to rope all of it in. You're doing 1,000 a day, you are not considered poor. Okay.
I mean, when you're about to pay tuition and all that stuff, and you have to transfer 1,000 to somebody, you can be poor and still pay tuition. What we are saying is, I mean, if you are the 3,000,
we are also trying to say that it looks as if 100% all our transactions are covered with Momo. No, it's not. Okay, so for instance, with the tuition, why don't you do a bank transfer?
So the issue is that now the issue is the digital platforms has created a digital wallet for people who otherwise have no access to the banking system, and those people cannot be unfairly tasked just because they are poor. They live in communities where there are no banks, and so once they transfer money, it kind of is subject to tax. This is the equity issue we are talking about.
But okay, so we are also, the government is also saying, and it's good for the argument, government is also saying that that convenience has been created, right? And for purposes of development and stuff like that, let us find a way to get a little bit when you use that platform for development.
Right.
And that, that I don't see any it's just, all these things we are talking about, it's just a change of party in government. It's going to introduce it somehow. Maybe give it a different name. Try to find a way around it. But at the end of the day, it's all to take certain thing out of there. Okay, and that is so that is where the whole thing is. I mean, I stand to be corrected on the 3,000 a day, but what they've said is that it's 100 a day, 3,000 a month. You go off 100, you go past 100, you boom. The deputy finance minister, boom, you get charged and all that. Yeah, you see. I disagree with government has failed, right? You see, in terms of what it needs to do, we still have challenges in the country, and the challenges in the country we have in terms of corruption fight, indiscipline, management, and all that kind of stuff. When we take it off all of us as a country and push it just on one, it is just a matter of what we're basically saying is that, okay, so this guy is mismanaging or is not doing it according to our definition. Let me come and also be part of the mismanagement. But we are just pushing one person for another to go.
This is the case where the yardstick, all right, the standard was actually proffered by this own government, the leadership of this particular government.
Yes.
Saying that we are just mismanaging, and that is the problem. The problem is not that the resources are not there. We are mismanaging. So if these same people turn around and say, oh, by the way, give us more taxes, is it because they themselves are also mismanaging the resources we have? And that is what I'm saying. That is what I'm
exactly. So at the time, listeners and host and everybody, you see, at the time that we were talking about the mismanagement, right? What was the economic growth? What were the challenges? There was an economic growth of 3.6%, right?
Right. Okay.
IMF, because of this thing, has frozen a lot of stuff. Subsidies on all our major social intervention have been frozen, employment and all this kind of stuff, and which impacted the economy, right? Doomso, and all these things. So there were specific things we talked about. Okay? Employment and stuff, industrialization. Have we built any factory that right now we are going looking for raw materials to come feed them? Name me one. We have not done that. We have not renovated or built or whatever you want to call it, and now we are going to go somewhere looking for it. The economy is growing. Now, let me give you specifics. Now,
let me get a quick counter argument on that, though. Now you've been in power for 5 years. You've built all the factories. So why
we've not stood anywhere and said we've built all the factories.
That the IMF put restrictions and all these other things which actually caused the economic growth to slow. Now you've seen economic growth of 8% at your peak. You've seen economic growth in your term. You've built all the 1D, 1Fs. Right. Why then are you back with the people asking them for their Momo? You should be resource rich by now. You should be doing well.
Resource rich.
You're not doing well.
Resource rich, right? When we use our peers, the resource rich has been built over the time. The factories, you see, factory is not like, a shirt, like this. When I was coming on, I had a different, you just go grab and put it on, you look nice, you come, everything is done. No, right? See, nation development takes time. There are stages you have to pass through. Okay? As we speak, we are now trying to get data in certain aspects of our life through the Ghana card. 60 years down the line, we have not been able to do this. These are basic stuff we have to do. We have not been able to identify people. Kwajo Mensah goes to get a loan. Hold on. Kwajo Mensah goes to Tudu to get a loan, and you can't find a person. And these are fundamentals you need to put down. Right? 1D, 1F that we're talking about right now. These are things we should have been built. You see, in America, most of the things we talk about, it's been built upon over the years. So they added more. So it is not like, if I can finish, it is not like Biden's 1.3 or 3 trillion social infrastructure thing is coming to build just a little chunk of new stuff. But for the most part, it is to strengthen the institution, do this and do that and do that. But for our part, somebody came, sold all the factory, and now we have to put some in place. Another was trying to do through the state. So we need to do these things. And if we came, and let's say, for instance, when we came, there were ambulances, right? Maybe we would have added on to it, okay? When we came and there was free SHS, maybe we would have added something to it. When we came and the ID card, which could first started, had finished, maybe we would have added on to it. You know, so this shortfall of our lifestyle is what has happened to us. So now we can talk of certain foundations that are being laid, and they will be built upon. And if we go this way, and we are able to get a little bit from there.
Back to the question. You've laid this foundation for you've been in government for 5 years. You've been laying foundations. You've been building factories, doing all the good things that you are describing. But we are saying those things should start bearing some fruits. You should start seeing the economic growth, which would have actually attracted a lot of the internal revenue generations that you wanted, so that you don't go to the people and ask them for COVID levy, sanitation levy, all the levies, including the E-levy. The person who didn't build anything, all right, didn't come asking for those levies. So
I get your point.
Hard.
I get that. But the answer to that is that, okay, so if we look at the country, for me, it is not even a district that needs one factory. For me, it is one town, right? So if we start a project like one district, one factory, right? It's a good idea.
So now it's one town, one F.
Okay, I mean, we can ridicule it, but that's for the sake. You see, but we've not been able to build factories in every single place, right? There are some that have been upgraded, some, they're still ongoing, but it's great. And we can add more to that, right? It is not the case that we have done with one district, one factory. No, that is not the case. Right. But some have been built. We keep on going. Maybe we'll not be able to finish. If we manage to secure this thing again, we continue. If not, another government comes. There has to be continuity in some of these areas. So that as we go along, it will get to a time where we say, oh, okay, so at one point in time, we sell communication tax. If we look at the money that we are getting, maybe this is no more necessary. So let's cut it off. But let me give you an example. There was a taxation, the toll recovery levy. The toll recovery levy.
Right.
It's still there, right? They were using it for some form of development, right?
Some of these things should be scrapped, especially with
the party that I believe when you need more, right?
You don't need more taxes. I think that is a erroneous argument. To say that we need more taxes is wrong. Baomia will tell you that. We don't need more taxes. What we need is to build up.
You think that no, we don't need more taxes. If you think that once we have not industrialized the country to a certain level, right? Yeah, well, we can say that, there is enough revenue coming from these businesses and stuff like that. We shouldn't find a way to tax our way to our development.
We are a resource-rich country. Unlike America,
so talking about the resources, talking about the resources, right? If you look at the contract that we've signed in the gold industry, in the oil industry and stuff like that, why is it that in Ghana, right? And these are the hard things we gotta talk. Why is it that in Ghana, when we mine our oil, that is taken away, and then we gotta get finished product. If we were to refine all these things, look at the chain of stuff that we would have gotten. So the contracts It's important. And as some of these contracts come to an end, how are we going to renew them? How are we going to sign them again? So the resources are there. The management of it, the contracts that have been signed, these are the things that
So shouldn't that be what your government is preoccupied with, rather than turning their guns on the people again and trying to pick their pockets?
Okay, so for instance, we are in government for 5 years. If you go to the port and somebody has signed a contract for 30 years, you come and what do? You just go and abrogate it. Sometimes you look at some of these contracts and see which one you can abrogate. And we've seen them. We abrogated them, and we've done a good job. Now, when we come, the interoperability, somebody was going to do it for 1.2 billion, right?
Yeah.
We were able to save 1.something billion for the country. That is something. Okay?
Okay.
Even that one, they did not let us sleep. They went on and on. So it is not the case that we've not done anything. But maybe we could have done more about that. Okay, so you look at what is it that we've done in the past, and these things are. So if the president said it is the management of it, yes, it is how some of these contracts are, and some of them are decades. So you look at the ones you can polish, you look at the ones you can do, and then you do so. Look at what we did. Look at what we did in the area of the Sino-Hydro, a perfect border system, right? You know, so this is the way we use our resources. I am not saying that every single contract that they did. Let me polish it up for Lifetime Legacy before he crucifies me. But most of their contracts were very bad. You know.
Quick question for you from one of my sisters, Sister Rose Ivy Kwashi wants me to ask you that we have. The IMF, World Bank Country Director saying that we've given this country 400 million for COVID relief, to buy sanitizers, etc., etc. In fact, the NDC is actually making an argument that 400 billion has been made available to these governments. Okay? 400 billion.
400 billion cedis or dollars?
Cedis. Okay. Never before. In just comparison, Mahama had 87 billion to work with, and the NDC says they can point to hospitals, several things that they've accomplished with your 400 billion, which is about almost 4 times what the previous administration had. Point to me, tell me what we can point to or what we've done with that money.
Are you talking about the COVID relief monies?
Not just the COVID relief money, all the money you borrowed, all the money we've taken from the stabilization fund, all the monies that has been made available to you from even the COVID.
Oh, you're talking about Alfred,
400 billion.
Alfred, we have a lot to show. Okay, road constructions. We have free SHS. We have the drones, right? We have interoperability.
Which you say you only cost you how much? How many million you just mentioned?
Okay, listen, you gotta listen. The Mahama thing that you talked about, right? If you put them all together, they won't be over $1 billion. Okay? They won't be over $1 billion. But I know there are other. Yes.
How much do you think it was? Let's go from. We can take it from.
Okay. So you can do. We can put. Listen. You ask. We can put specific amount of money to it, and then we can quantum them and bring them. But you see, if you are giving us if you want us to give you the list is just 2. But I'm just going to give you the ones that you see. And when I mention it, you are shaking your hand. Do you know? Yeah, you shake your hand. How many interchanges are currently ongoing? How many interchanges? Okay.
Go ahead. The only one I am aware of is the Tamale one, which actually has stalled, right?
Oh, so we have the Obiche Bilamte ongoing.
Don't go there.
It was previously contracted.
Okay, listen.
Don't go there.
Alfred, you people, listen. No, you need to listen, and let me say this. Now, the loan for the construction of the completed one, the Pokwasi,
correct.
Yeah. When you signed that one, that loan was not part of Mahama's loan.
It was.
Okay.
It was.
No, it's not. No.
The only thing the current administration did was to vary the interchange and add one more lane.
Please
no. The money actually came. Oh, listen. No, it's not true.
We are deviating.
I am telling you. But I'm telling you all the things that we are doing right now, right? Because some of the loans are released in transit. Okay?
Go back
and then in phases. Some of them are in phases. So it's phase 1 completed. Yes, and then they will release. And are you telling me that? No, hold on.
You should do one more minute.
University. Let me make this correction. University of Ghana Medical Center is not a completed project.
Okay.
Yes. And we have to go look for the money. We see all these things. The first two, we have to go look for the money to do the first two. What are you talking about? Now, if you go to KJTR is not a completed project. There's a phase 2 to it.
But we still have a significant, market built. Where is your scratch from cradle to grave? Where is your project that you started from, the beginning and is gotten to even a visible, substantial phase for people to see? I think that is the question. It's not you going to look for whatever to finish phase 2 or something. Where is your flagship project?
Okay. So on one front, okay, listen. You see, this question and this line of thinking, right? It is what the politicians use against us. On one front, no, hold on, let me finish. On one front, we the intellectuals here are saying that when you come and there's a project to be completed. Let me finish with this statement. That is exactly what you're saying right now. That we've come, right? Okay, hold on. That we've come, right? Can I finish? We've come. Let us take University of Ghana Medical Center, right? Now, NDC just commissioned it and leave it there. Did not operationalize it. So when you come, they're going to ask you, which one did you also start? So you see, that is why you see Mahama from when he came, right? All the Kufuor projects, don't touch it, abandon them. Go and look for Saglame and start. When already there was the Asokore Mampong, and there was the couple of them in Accra and various parts of the country.
Don't go and touch my question that you've continued on Mahama projects.
No, let me finish.
Flagship project.
No, I am coming because I keep mentioning them and then you keep throwing me around, right? Hold on.
Right.
I need to make this statement so that we don't come here and say, okay, so Saglame is there. Why are you starting another project? Because people will ask you, okay, if Saglame is there, don't go and start another one.
Right.
Okay? Because they're going to ask you, go and start from the scratch.
Right.
And that, if you see, even Saglame, we were talking about when we came and we did assessment, there's a 30 million to that. Oh, why don't you go look for the money and continue?
Right. Okay.
Right? And then we come here and we talk about this. But as we speak, we have seen the Pualugu thing ongoing. We've seen the completion of the interchange projects. We've seen the delivery of ambulances. We've seen drones. We've seen the free SHS going on. We've seen road constructions going on.
Hey, the NDC can point to Biu Dam, which they finished. They can point to the N1.
Who finished Biu Dam? Who finished Biu Dam?
This wasn't finished under Kufuor. It was actually finished under Mahama.
You see, there we go. So Kufuor started, NDC finished. Beautiful.
The continuity of project has not been a problem. It does not preclude the government from starting a substantial flagship project of their own and completing or getting it to a visible level, which is hard to find under this government. But let's not stretch that point, because this is something we can come back to discuss, right? I want to, out of respect, give you maybe 1 minute to kind of pull your point all together so we can move on from there.
Exactly, and not deviating from the E-levy, right? So we are talking about employment here, okay?
Right.
So government has realized that we cannot, as a government, substantially absorb all these unemployed stuff. Okay, we tried an APCO. We have, a little bit of this here. We absorb people into the, the existing agencies and stuff like that. And as we try to expand the the private sector. It is important that we find a way to absorb this team in youth, which is the youth that most people have all these projects, which government sometimes support them through the matchlock and stuff like that. But it is not enough. So how do we add more to it? So this e-levy is also part of this youth unemployment that has plagued the country, government after government. And it is important that we support some of these things. The issue about accountability, we can strengthen institutions and punish people so that, you know, the resources that sometimes get siphoned through the system, we can get it. But they are additions. It doesn't mean that because of that, we shouldn't find another way to tax the people.
Thank you.
And to conclude, I can tell you, there are so many projects dotted out in the country that we can point to.
Except you can't point to any on the show.
Well, I have mentioned some of them, and you are saying you don't take them. Okay? How much have we invested in free SHS alone? How much?
It's not broken, don't fix it. Maybe you should understand that. Because
how much
again,
what is not broken, don't fix it?
Free SHS,
so free SHS has not helped. Free SHS has not helped, right? Is that what you want to say?
We can talk about education on another day. Trust me. There's a lot of subject matter in that area. So let me read a few comments that came since you were addressing us. Komina Ato again says, well, some of these are to lifetime legacy, but he says that what institution did Rawlings build except those to protect himself? And that's really unfortunate. Rawlings did a few things, especially giving us this democracy or returning us back to power, which wasn't just by him, right? It was an effort between him, the opposition, and everybody came on board and actually did that. So there are things we can point to if we pick that as a topic for another day. So yeah, stay tuned, and we'll have that discussion on another day. He also says traditionally Ghana has been funded by borrowed money, which is true. Isn't that rather the lazy man's approach, borrowing to spend? I mean, not necessarily, right? Because it is always good to leverage, and that, you know, the right term there is leverage, to leverage resources from others, especially if it is going to infrastructure. But what we've seen right now, because the thing is, when you invest in infrastructure, it pays back. It creates, for instance, if it was roads, it opens the country up for trade to improve, for people to be able to move resources from the farm. And so we don't have rotten tomatoes when, you know, there's tomato shortage in the places that are consuming the most. Like, we can move it from the villages, the farms, to the cities. That is what borrowing, when used for those purposes, can help the country to do. But when you borrow to consume, like to pay free SHS, of course, there's going to be a long-term view to that, to say that in the long term,
free SHS is not funded from borrowing. Let's get that.
Well, we fund it from the, what do you call it? The petroleum revenue that we allocate for, and that is fair. That, you know,
I think it was from the sovereign funds. Okay.
No, we actually do it from the petroleum. We have there's something we call that. There's an allocation.
Heritage fund. Heritage fund.
Heritage fund. There is a
stabilization fund.
Stabilization fund. The stabilization fund has a different purpose. Stabilization fund is there to support the economy in hard times, right? So we don't spend that unnecessarily, but there is an allocation we make from our petroleum funds to support budgets. And then there's a name we call for it. I'll recall it and give it to you before we go. All right. Yes. Let me finish reading this, and then we can bring you back in, Mr. Lifetime Legacy. It says, Kwamina again says, the major reason why several factories have been built under I1D1F is the tax break incentive. So yes, factories have been built, all right, but they are operating under corporate tax break. So again, it goes to the argument of the agreements that we are signing, right? Especially if we say we, you know, have signed bad agreements 30 years ago, then why are we continuing to sign bad agreements now? You know, we need to kind of solve our revenue problem. And it doesn't mean just taxing the people. We are saying going to tax your people is the laziest approach. Yes, get those factories to the country, but reason up and get the good agreements for us. Samuel Deku say, where is the first district factory situated? So if that's going to you, maybe you can help him identify. Paul Disosu, who's one of our regular panelists, is not on the show, and I've been reading this comment just so I can get to Paul's ones because he's addressing it. Paul is saying, Alfred, can you tell Afa to stop the mischief and propaganda?
To come on.
He's also saying, Paul, you can actually join by calling my number and I'll pipe you in if you want to contribute. And then he's saying, they are unable to account for all the over 240 billion. FI is just trying to throw dust into the eyes of, that is Paul's favorite word, throwing dust into the eyes of the people. Mr. Omar, is it Otman Ibid and so says, FI Amayal, go back and get his facts and come back, okay? So FI, people are not really enjoying your stand. I think people really just don't want the E-levy. That's all it is. It's not you. It is the E-levy they are against. And then he says, look at the way FI is struggling to defend something that cannot be defended. Alfred, tell FI that he admitted last week that Ghana is being mismanaged as we speak. So what is he talking about, Kra? Okay. Then again, he says, I'm not even on the show and my brother is struggling like this to make his submission. FI is in trouble this afternoon. It's because I've interrupted him so much. And, if I don't do it, we are going to have a lot of dust in our eyes this evening. All right, I talk one minute again. Samuzu, you are arguing that unless you see a physical structure, then nothing has been done. When I drive by, I can see free SHS as a physical structure. I don't see national ID card as a physical structure. I don't see an effective and operational address system as a physical structure, etc. Does that mean these are minuscule and compared to KDTR market? Well, I mean, we are arguing that, or I am arguing that, infrastructure, when you borrow to actually fund infrastructure, it's better than when you borrow for consumption. And some of what you've just listed there are pure consumptions. We had our democracy before he disrupted it. So that's okay. I think he's answering to the Rollins again. Argument can be made for and against that. You can see the root causes of why coups happen, and this is something we'll be talking about next. Okay, so there's just so much coming in, right? Kwame, I guess what infrastructure investment is better than which one goes into human capital, okay? Human capital means the education piece. And then Juliana say yentia, okay? Juliana guess we are not going to send money to Ghana again. Okay, Julia, just send it.
People will die. People will die.
When I first came to this country, and
they will send, Papa. They will send. Papa.
I don't know about you, but I remember when I first came here, and in New York, I was in New York then. Instead of sending money through, what do you call it, the correct channels, which is like the Western Unions, there is a connection man that you can go and give the money to. He keeps the dollar here. He instructs his people back in home to give them cash.
They still do it.
They still do it?
Yeah, we still do.
Yeah, so we can watch out for that to actually be resurrected.
People that still do them, right?
But Boga coup party 2 days inside. You know the Boga coup parties come. Give it to me, I'll give it to the person, and you don't see them again.
If you do that multiple times, of course, you're not going to survive. People will come after you. They'll know. So, my friend Bashir again is saying, ask FR when teacher trainees allowance will be paid. FR, good question for you. Juliana says, confused government is falling apart.
Better government owes you than cancellation.
And Paul finally says, Alfred, FR will be out of their pockets by, it says what? FR will be out of their pockets by force. In other words, FR, you are going to
so what have you done to these people?
All right. So those are the comments, and we're enjoying them. Please keep them flowing. It makes the discussions very interesting. We appreciate all of you. Now let's go to lifetime legacy. FR has said a lot. I'm trying hard to interrupt him as much as I can so that we don't end up with a lot of dust like what I would say. But any rebuttals from what you heard from FR so far?
Yes, before I come to FR, I want to do a few rebuttals to my brother Kwamina.
By the way, we are also joined by Ato Kwamina Danso, the only doctor who is, we are fortunate to have grazing our show every week and providing very neutral stance, which we again appreciate all the time. So welcome to the show, Dr. Ato Kwamina. So now Lifetime Legacy.
Yeah, to mention a few achievements of Rawlings to my brother who is sending the message.
Right.
I don't know his age, but maybe he's not privy to what Rawlings did in Ghana. So just to means of educating him, let me mention a few things Rawlings did to Ghana, aside the democracy, things he did so that he will upgrade himself to that level.
Right.
Now, before Rawlings took over the realm of Ghana, electricity was not in any part of the Northern region.
Right. So he had the Vision 2020, which is a year 2020.
If my brother don't know, he should go and learn that fact.
Absolutely.
Another place, so by the time Rawlings left the reign, they have extended electricity to close to 70% of the nation before he left, including Afan Plain, where the electricity have to be passed under a water to get to Afan Plain. If he doesn't know, just this alone should serve him as a means of education. Now, I strongly agree with Baumia that we have Yetisika. We have a lot in Ghana.
Okay.
Baumia and his boss, Yetisikasu. I strongly agree with them that Yetisikasu. I'll be the last person not to agree with that particular statement, and I'll give you the reason why.
Let me ask you. You agree with him, but Yetisikasu, but your government took us to IMF and had an abysmal performance for years, and that has caused their downfall, and Mahama is out of government.
Yeah, I'll come to that.
And at that time, we didn't get Yetisikasu.
No Yetisikasu. When you look at before I go to the main point, you realize that when you look at even the budget presented by the current regime, okay, that will finance the activities of the nation within 2022. It is now up to 200 billion. Coming all together.
The budget is 127 billion.
Okay.
137. I'm sorry.
Okay. So
appropriation 147.
Yeah, because they added your 110 billion more. Correct.
Alfred, when you add what we make out of oil, I'll mention just 4 things. Okay. When you add what we make out of oil, cocoa, and then what do you call it? A few other things that we get, including our harbors, that alone should be able to finance activity of the government every year, on a condition that we have prudent and disciplined management of the system.
Correct.
Okay. So I strongly agree with them that we have a lot in the system, but the problem we have as a nation is leadership. Mismanagement and corruption is the key. My brother,
I disagree though, because we've seen different shades and forms of leadership over the years, and they all end up in the same problem.
Alfred, that is what I'm coming to. My brother Kwame made a statement that
now more structural than what you're describing.
Alfred, you see, the reason why the citizenry, the resources are there. The reason why some of the what do you call it? We have what we have at hand is that the citizens also need to be blamed as part of the problem. You know why? In the US over here, how many citizens go to their representative and ask for their school fees?
Right.
You get it? How many citizens goes to their representative and ask for hospital bills?
What's the point?
So in as much as we have the resources in the country, the resources are not being spent on the rightful thing that they are supposed to be spent on. The money are going to places where
the representative and ask for school fees, that school fees can be coming out of the government's coffers instead of coming from the person's pocket. Is the person, when you go to your representative and ask for school fees, should your representative be taking it from the government's coffers?
Alfred, that is a conduit to corruption. Let me give you a practical.
This is crime.
Let me give you an example. Let me give you a practical example. The current MPs in Parliament, okay, if they want to live solely on what they earn at the end of the month, okay, it is not up to 150 million. I mean,
but that's what they should be living on. They shouldn't be living on any, unless they have their own other business on the side.
So what they are paid legitimately at the end of the month, it's not up to 15,000. Okay, right. But out of it, there is a car loan out of that same money. So you see where the problem is, and the citizens are unable to hold the people they elect or office because of some of these things. You get it? That is right. Just by the way. I'm speaking as somebody who have held a political office at the party level before.
Right.
Okay. That is the reason why some of the promises that politicians make to their electorate, they are unable to fulfill them, because at the end of the day, before they come to office, they know what they are going to earn and they know where those things will be channeled to. But they don't factor in the demands of their constituents. Okay, so when that happens, they find themselves wanting and go overboard to do things they are not supposed to do.
This is like there's a cyclical issue there, because you make promises that you cannot keep. And then when you go into power, the people come demanding for you to fulfill those promises. And so it should start from the politicians being fair, being straightforward with the people. And if they are going to vote for you, they'll vote for you fair and square because you've been truthful to them. There's no way I'm going to pay your school fees. But guess what I can do? My job as a parliamentarian is to propose legislations that would have impacts beyond even our community.
Alfred.
If you can sell that.
Alfred, I don't mean to interrupt. Can I say something? Alfred is making sense, but that's not a reality on the ground. When I was in Ghana, no. When I was in Ghana, there was a particular MP. The MP was voted out of power because they said he had a notoriety for not attending funerals.
Yeah, that's a different issue,
really
right?
Sure. The MP was voted out of power because they said he doesn't smile, and when you go to the wife is, you go to their house, the wife is disrespectful. So they voted him out, because he had nothing to do with a policy issue, his development record, none of that.
Yeah, but
our form of democracy is rooted in African traditional culture of a sort. So right. I understand your point. It makes sense in theory, but in practice, it doesn't work. So I agree completely with. Let
me redirect quickly. Asura Boga, basically, yes, if you disrespect your people, all right, respect it doesn't cost the government coffers anything. Okay, if you are representing the people, you should be there with them, mourn with them, and be kind to them in terms of when they come to you. Don't show them an attitude. Be voted. You should be rightfully voted out of power if you do those things. But what I'm saying is, if you have to be corrupt in order to actually pay your constituent school fees, that should not be the case. If that is the practice on the ground, we who know should not be saying because it's the practice on the ground, it is okay, or that's the reality. We should do everything, including using these platforms like this, to educate the people and tell them that, listen, if your politician comes to you and promise you things that he cannot do out of his salary, first of all, you shouldn't even be promising that, because your legislature, your parliamentarian, is not a development agent. So
let me say something personal with you. I was with an MP. Let me say something. I was with an MP friend of mine in Ghana, right? He has a hideout. This hideout is when he comes from Accra, he hides there.
Yeah.
You will not believe at around maybe 4 a.m., 5 a.m., there were 3 people that had discovered this hideout, and they came with letters that their children have gotten some admission. They wanted at like 4 a.m. They came to this MP to demand money.
But there are solutions.
Relax. I'm making a relax. There's this solution, but our people are not ready to hear what your solution is. These people believe that we voted you to power, so we have a certain stake in your success. This MP, how much money does he make? So that is a direct conduit to find some sort of mischievous means to make money. Because these people don't care how you make the money. So far as they come and you have to. So you know what? You give them 500 Ghana and said, oh, call my secretary. Later when he left, says, Estonia, but I had nothing on me. These people that disgrace me. Whenever he has to come in town, he has to even put together a parcel, like a hamper, to give to certain people every time he's in town.
Right.
That is the kind of political situation that we find out. Is it right? No. But a lot of our people are semi-educated and no insult to anyone. So we don't understand what this democratic dispensation thing is in its entirety.
It is the responsibility.
So it's very difficult. So it's very difficult. I understand your point. It sounds like you are writing. You know how you write social studies paper and prepare all sorts of solutions. And then when you go home, you are dealing with the situation in real time. It's not the same. Anyway, you can go ahead.
Lifetime legacy. Please, Alfred, let me bring in something quickly. 1 minute. That was the reason why they gave the MPs a little chunk of the MPs common fund, so that they will decide which area it has to go to cushion them from some of these things. We don't have excuse for what lifetime legacy is talking about, and that is a key part of the corruption. Please go on.
So what I'm saying is that
let me go on.
Before you go, I'm going to give you all the time to go on.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is that we as citizens also have responsibility, especially for us on this platform, especially to not perpetuate the whatever is going on right now. I think the MP should use their platform to educate the people of their real role, the role they have to play. And when we get on platforms like this, we should also use these opportunities to educate, to help people understand what should be done. Not like pushing it and saying, oh, that is the what is on the ground and that should go on. That's not going to help. Now, you know, there are ways that MPs can set up all kinds of funds. It could be educational funds in the community to help people contribute into that for the less privileged to actually partake in. There could be scholarship funds that's, you know, organizations or factories located in the community as part of their social responsibility will contribute to. There is so much the MP can do besides going to hide. If you really want to create solutions, you can. It may sound like theory, but people need to, you know, I know it's hard, but we should continue to talk about it until we see change. Yes, go ahead now.
Alfred, I have been in active politics since 1996.
Okay.
I have contested an assemblyman election before.
Yeah.
I have been in office as a constituency youth organizer for my party. Fortunately for me, I found myself in an enlightened society and have been at the grassroots there before. And I'm speaking out of a practical experience. So I have experienced the two situations. And when you are coming from the elite perspective of way to how things should be done.
It's the first time
but that is not the reality. If you don't balance yourself very well, one day when you stood for political office, if you don't take it, you voted out.
It's best to be voted out. Principle.
No. You balance. It is important to balance.
Remember the 10 years since Professor Atta Mills passed away. Integrity is one of the things we remember Professor Atta Mills for. That no matter what happened, you know, he would even go across the political aisle to make sure the interest of Ghana is served. You cannot bribe Professor Atta Mills.
Let me tell you something you don't know.
You cannot say that.
Let me tell you something you don't know. It is true. I'm speaking as a NDC person, an insider who have seen it all. Okay. Atta Mills as a person is not corrupt. Atta Mills as a person have integrity. People must lay down their shoulder to do some of those things for Atta Mills to succeed to that at the top. He didn't do those things, okay? But people from the on the down level who want to succeed must be the bridge for him to work on.
I guess we are speaking.
You are not understanding the reality. So I do not to deviate from the real issue.
I'm not ignoring that reality exists. I'm saying that we should push a position that is different from that reality.
Maybe,
So that
it will be difficult.
Maybe not in this generation.
We shouldn't wait for the change to actually take effect on the ground.
Not in this generation anyway.
By assuming these positions and putting your stance forward, right, can be the beginning of the change you want to see. So when you are on a platform like this, because a lot of people, we have so many people listening to us now, you know, we are not going to be on this platform pushing the status quo as though it is okay. It's not okay. Whether somebody put their shoulder down for Atamis to stand on, that person should back out of the politics, because we don't need that in our politics. What we need in our politics is honesty to the people. We need politicians who will tell the truth, because by doing so,
Alfred is talking like the Kenyan guy. What is his name? The one who goes around talking.
Let me leave that point. Let me leave that point and go to the main issue. You see, that is why. But on the lighter side, that is why. What do you call it? A returning like Kofi Wayo and Kofi Quartey will continue to be in the wilderness for long to get the political office. That is just by the way. But let me go to the main issue.
It's unfortunate that we would say that though. But yeah, finish your point in about 1 minute. We've already passed our time. But if you guys will have 2 more minutes.
Now coming back to Ifa issue.
Oh, we have time. We have time.
Okay. You see, my brother Ifa might probably have left Ghana for so long. So I'll forgive him for him to when he decided to credit Akufo-Addo with some of the projects he's mentioned. I'll forgive him. But to somebody like me who have been in Ghana, even though and have seen it in most about then region, then before the region were created to be 16, who have seen it maybe about 7 regions, have seen it all. I will forgive him to that regard. I'll forgive him to that regard.
Okay.
Pokwasi interchange was not an achievement of Akufo-Addo. Right. I also go ahead to mention Obechebi Lamte project. I will refer to my brother Ifa to go and look for sometime in November 2016, when Jamama was commissioning second interchange. The next project he mentioned that will commence very soon after that inauguration was Obechebi. So, like I said, I'll forgive him because he may have probably left the country for long and is not in touch with the country frequently. But to some of us who were out,
this is the guy who's getting a briefing from Jubilee House every day. You barely get a briefing from him. It's hard for you to say that. Anyway,
so in that regard, I will forgive him. I'll forgive him.
Okay, we gotta move on. Let me bring in Kwame Estonia Boga. Estonia, and then after that we'll go to Ato Kwame now. Estonia, am I the only, okay, we are joined also by Daniel, so it's gonna be interesting now. Woo, Daniel, welcome to the show.
All right, thank you guys.
Yeah. Dr. Ato?
Dr. Ato is there. He's just hiding his face. He's gonna show his face once I'm sure he's getting ready to talk. So Kwame, am I disillusioned of thinking that our politicians should be truthful to us? Because I believe that some of the issues we are having is because we get these over-bloated promises, and these promises end up not being delivered. For instance, we have the resources. So I also agree with Baumia that it's Naskasu and that is the mismanagement. But when you are mismanaging the economy, why should we the citizens be responsible for bailing you out?
So what it is well, what exactly is the truth and what exactly is honesty? Right? In our part of the country, when you are lying or you are being untruthful, it's just a norm. It's just the way to go. Somebody can be standing right in front of you and they will be caught in a lie. There's no shame. They will not resign. Even if you suggest resignation, they think it's such a foreign or such an exotic idea. So that should inform you as the kind of people that you are dealing with. These politicians know that our people are all liars. So equally, they're also going to lie to them. So I understand you are not disillusioned of anything. The honesty that you are saying, it's a good idea. In theory and in principle, it's such a great idea that everybody should tell the truth. You know, in this country that we live in now, let's say you are applying for a job and you lied on a resume and they find out, you're going to get fired. Right? I recently had to fire somebody because HR found out a certain certification that they had was fake.
Wow.
Right? It was a very elaborate scheme. Mm-hmm. But if in Ghana, they will go and call opinion leader, they will go and call a pastor, they will call a imam, they will come and quote some verses and tell you, our Lord Jesus forgave, so you should forgive. You see, we have a very complicated system with what exactly, that's why I asked the philosophical question, what exactly is truth? What exactly is honesty? Right? We all go to Ghana. When I was in Ghana recently, somebody called me and said that on my return journey back, oh, boss, I can do your COVID test for you. You don't even have to do the test and pay me 200 or 50 Ghana. I said, but why? This is a disease that is killing people. Why should I do a test for free or pay you some money and get there? So just because I didn't do it doesn't mean other people are not going to do it. Something that is killing people that you know are killing people. So
what you're saying is that the society itself is
correct, because what it is in this America that you are not worried about what you are going to eat. You are not worried about what you are going to wear. You are not worried about what you're going to where you're going to sleep. So most of the time, there are other things that will be easy for you to do. Because in our part of the world, some people have to lie constantly to survive.
Yeah, but we are saying, I guess, sorry, I don't know if you heard this word. The tone has to start from the top. If the fish's head is rotten, there's no way this fish is alive, you know?
But let me give an example. If I don't like this, but let me say this. If I don't like this, hold on. Let me
1 minute. Akufo-Addo have to contest election for about 3 times before he win. In each election that he contested, he spent so much in doing that. Where do we expect him to get the money back from? Or the money, including the houses.
Use Atamios.
You get it.
How many times before he succeeded?
Where will he get those money? So we are where we are today. Why because we need to pay some of those debt back.
I think that example is neither here or there because the campaign financing, of course, which should be another topic we actually tackle, I think is the root cause of a lot of these issues. But he's giving you a good example. Your own Atamios ran for 3 times. He has to finance each of those campaigns. CDD just came out to say one presidential campaign actually costs about 100 million. All right. If you want to be a parliamentarian in Ghana, the estimate is that you need to spend at least a minimum of 4 million. Where are you gonna in your lifetime? That 4 years that you're gonna be in parliament, you wouldn't make 4 million. So there has to be a way for us to deal with campaign. But yes, Kwame, if you can finish, so I bring in.
Let me finish my point. So, like I was saying, for example, if I would not like this point, but Baumia in a lot of videos has been caught in a lie constantly, a lie after a lie after a lie after a lie, and it's quite preposterous that somebody as educated and as devout Muslim as he is, he should be able to speak the truth, right? I'm going to give you that one example.
Chamante is leading him. Right.
That is why my brother advice about Chamante.
Somebody like that. The reason why I'm using, no offense to the NPP, because they are power. That's why it's easy for me to use Baumia as an example. So if Baumia is doing it, what is me or any other person, we also entitled to do the same. Because there are people, the most corrupt people in Ghana are not really the ministers or the government people. It's the directors of some of these ministries and the people that are on the ground. I'm working on something in Ghana, and I'm telling you, when I went there, the sort of machinery that they have in place, these people are untransferable. They have it's like a gang. You have to pay them money before whatever you need done is going to get done.
Right.
So if you have a system like that, my brother, it's quite difficult to bring this honesty and truthfulness thing in. It's going to be difficult for
what is your solution? How do you think this can be dealt with? Or do you think we should just forget it? It's already broken.
No. We cannot forget. Our system has to be appended, and then the kids have to be retrained, especially in the mind, as to how they do things. Well, for example, when I first came to the United States and I was in grad school, right? Actually, when I was doing my bachelor's degree, my first exams, it was American History 101. right? I was sitting at my desk trying to write a paper. There was no invigilator. There was no invigilator. The TA was just sitting there reading a book. I was so shocked. I called my friend. Back in those days, cell phone wasn't really that common. So I called my friend. I said, "Hey, Charlie, I'm writing this paper. Nobody is even asking anybody. Nobody is copying anything. Nobody has. It was so foreign and strange. But back at UCC, they have about thousands of invigilators hawking on you because they know our people are working. There you go. Because you have ladies that have apple under their breast. You have men that have apple under their suit and all kinds of stuff. So all of that boils to our. It's not something to do with us specifically, but our system has forced people to become liars and untruthful. It has nothing to do with us as a people, but the society forces us to be that way. It's the same people that live in Ghana. When they come to America, they are afraid. They know that here, if you do some nonsense, the system gets you are going to jail. You understand?
So somebody needs a big stick, right? Like the Damparis. We need that big stick.
The Dampare is one person. He's going to get tired. It's not a system. Dampare can do. What didn't JJ do? For some, I don't. That's why I like when Legacy was making a point. Said he doesn't know the age. Sometimes some of the people, they are not old enough to have seen some of these things. They are not old enough to have seen some of these curfews and some of these alarms that go off at 6 p.m. and you have to run away. Some people haven't seen some of these things. So it's hard for you to explain to some kid online, some 35-year-old, some young person online as to what has actually happened. Did you understand what I'm trying to say? So when first Chairman Rollins came, he was held as some junior Jesus. Me, I live close to a barracks. So those days he was sort of seen as some anti-corruption person that was going to clean up our system.
Right.
And even with him and all that he did, that is what makes people have a certain disaffection for him. Our people need a system. But once again, we are also contending against a certain general European agenda outside. We have to also contend with that. And it's complicated. But anyway, I'll leave the rest of the conversation for the guys to also add their bit. But truth and honesty in Ghana, they will be difficult, my brother.
I didn't know, on a lighter note, I didn't know I have a lot of old men in the studio today. People are quoting days that there were 7 regions. I'm surprised. And here you go, Estonia talking about alarm o'clock at 6 p.m. Anyway, I also would love to. Okay, Dr. Ato, are you with us?
Yes, I am. And first of all, I want to thank you and your panelists. And I want to state categorically that I am not.
So you are Beidou. Now I see the name clearly. Show your face so we can see you. They want to see who's criticizing them through the messages.
I think I'll do that next time because I hadn't planned to participate directly in the conversation. So I'm not in the position right now. I did not put on my makeup and stuff like that. So next time
okay, no problem.
The conversation, I wanted to speak on the E-levy issue, but it looks like the conversation has veered off that. So I am not sure whether this is the appropriate time for me to speak on.
Go for the E-levy. Absolutely. We are still on the E-levy. It's just, we are carried away by all the rots in the system. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. And before I go there, I want to say that I don't recall the last time I was put into the bracket of the younger folks. Because I am old enough, probably older than Mr. Legacy, looking at his picture, unless like he just looks or he just has a baby face. But looking at his face, like a younger brother to me. I lived through Ghana and experienced all the changes that happened.
So you witnessed the 7 regions and the light, the alarms at 6 o'clock and all that, right?
Yes. I witnessed all that, yeah. And anyway, on the E-levy issue, the reaction is not surprising because innately, nobody wants taxes. I mean, you make your money, you feel like you've earned it. You don't want anyone to dip their dirty hands in it and snatch a piece of it. So the reaction is not surprising to me. All across cultures or countries, everyone or most people do not like new taxes on their income. And so, but when we look at Ghana, the way we have operated our country over the years, we have largely financed it on borrowed money. To me, that's actually the lazy man's approach, that you borrow and spend. That's very lazy. That's very easy. You have to move the country towards a stage where you can internally generate your resources or your revenue and spend it on the country's development. If you are going to just accrue more loans and then you have to pay interest rates on especially high interest rates on these accrued loans, that is not for the good of the country. That's a really lazy man's approach.
Well,
but,
so would you say the United States is lazy, considering that the United States just passed, how many? Was it 30 trillion threshold?
Yes. I would say that, because even the United States has veered off traditionally how they finance this country. If you look at American history, things basically broke in terms of the country's finances under Ronald Reagan, when they started engaging in excessive borrowing. It never used to be like that. In fact, America had some of the highest tax rates in the world. So, the super rich, there was a time the super rich was taxed close to 90%. That's why America leapfrogged the rest of the world and had all these physical infrastructures. They laid down the physical infrastructures. When they veered off that pathway, that's how they have fallen behind. And now China has so much physical infrastructure that America cannot meet, because now the country operates on borrow and spend. But if you want for the good of the country, you want to raise revenue and spend. It's sort of like how we say you grow what you eat and you eat what you grow. That kind of analogy. Yeah. That is the best way to run a country. So that notion that's circulating that, oh, it's a lazy man's approach, it's a lazy man's approach, I don't personally buy it. But the problem we have currently facing,
renowned economics who we all respect and thought he was going to be a messiah, a problem solver, would actually find ways. And I buy into what Bawumia says, because the reality is productivity is the way to go. Like you were saying, a country like China relies heavily on productivity. The industrial base produces all the world's products.
If you follow the Chinese pathway, because when I was growing up, China was not what it is today. They used to ride on bicycles. They didn't even have enough cars in China. China was basically like a huge rural country, but they set an agenda. They stuck to it, and over time, the country moved. I'll use an analogy that Obama used to say, that when you're running a country, or when you want to change a country, it's like changing the direction of a ship. You turn the wheel fast, but it takes a while for the ship to actually veer or change course. It lags behind that. So if you look at what is going on in the country, especially prior to this pandemic, the country was now putting into place the fundamentals that you need for any country to develop. We could not develop any country if you don't even have an identification system. You can't develop a country if you don't have an address system. These are like basic fundamentals. Nobody in our history, 60 plus history, made a concerted effort to solve or resolve these issues, but yet we wanted to transform the country into an advanced country, which was not going to be possible. So the fundamentals are being laid down now. It's going to take a while for the results, especially when you look at the investment that's being made in the youth with this free SHS. It's transformational, but we are not going to see it in a year or two. It's going to take a number of years. But back to the E-levy, what I want to say is that the problem we are now facing, because originally, when the country needed to raise money, we would go and sell bonds and raise the money. The pandemic has thrown everything has disrupted everything. So the country essentially can't raise the money that we wanted to raise on the bond market. And it's also because the government indeed has borrowed a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, that is a fact.
Yeah,
but
we've borrowed a lot even prior to the pandemic, right? It wasn't just...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that the government borrowed a lot prior to the pandemic.
And we've had so much assistance during the pandemic that it shouldn't even be an issue at all.
No, you see, the one thing we are losing sight of is that, when you raise money on bond market and etc., there's a maturity date that you have to pay that amount. You have to pay it off. And so, like, the bills that we are paying now is actually legacy bills. The ones that the government has borrowed is going to come later.
Right.
Yeah. So, the reason why the government can't borrow, and I understand the rationale behind why they borrowed so much, because that's how businesses are actually run. When the interest rate is low, when money is available to be borrowed, any smart businessman borrows a lot.
Yeah, they use some of the borrowing to restructure, like especially the domestic loan when they had
exactly. But what has thrown the calculus off is the pandemic, because nobody had could think that there was going to be something like that is going to basically shut down the economy and result to a 0.9% growth rate.
Right.
Sometimes when we speak, we minimize the effect of this pandemic on the global economy and on our economy, but it's very serious. Even in America.
Can I interject quickly?
Yeah.
The 0.9% GDP growth was experienced in only 1 year. In fact, this year we are actually projecting about 5% GDP growth, which is way more than the NDC government actually chalked in 2016. So when we speak about these things, let's not act as though the pandemic has actually caused a havoc before.
Mr. Muzu, you have to understand that you see, when we were not growing, we were still eating, we were still consuming, we still needed something to run the country.
Right.
So yeah, assuming that let's say for a year you did not receive the income that you typically spend.
Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't receive that income. That does not mean that you did not live your life. You still have to turn on the heat. You still have to turn on the lights. You still have to.
I understand that, but I'm saying it's only 1 year. That only happened for 1 year. We had non-pandemic declines before experienced in this country, but we didn't pretty much.
But you can't minimize the import of it by just saying that it's only 1 year. It's only 1 year in terms of time, but it's in terms of physical effect. Physical in terms of I'm using the word FISCAL. It's enormous. It has set the country back so much. And what I think our people need to understand, or what I personally also struggle with, is that for so many years we allowed the telecom to basically tap a total of 2% for transactions.
They charge about, is it 1% of the transaction fees?
Yeah, to send, to withdraw.
The government could tax anyway. The government charges tax.
It total 2%. This money went. The government would tax that. That's fine. But a total 2%. This money went to private entities. We, as a country, we were fine with it. To me, it was outrageous. That amount was very high. But yet, if we as Ghanaians need to raise 1.75% for our own country, and that 1.75% is going to affect only 60% of e-transactions, because 40% of them have been excluded by that cut-off amount. yeah, we all of a sudden we are up in the air that this is too much. That there comes a time, like I have lived through. My friend Mr. Legacy was talking about, maybe you didn't know what was going on. I was in Ghana when Rawlings introduced so many other taxes. When we went through Palms card and
like which one? VAT?
Yes.
No.
VAT, and there's been like structural adjustment policies under like those days of possible change.
What was introduced under that? I don't remember. I know.
No, I'm talking about the structure. I'm talking about
the structural adjustment program, which was mostly the facilitation of government expenditure. What I'm
saying is that I've lived through Ghana when the country the circumstances called for us to tighten belts. People were we went through retrenchment programs, we went through structural adjustment programs, we went through so many things. Basically, we're saying that the country needed to change some of the practices.
Right.
If today, what we need to change is basically to righten the cost of our country, is to pay 1.75%, or down there talking about 1.5% in e-transactions. What is the alternative if we don't pay that? We go to IMF.
Tighten up.
Do we think that IMF, the outcome of IMF would be better for the country? I think not.
Why not?
Because the history, if you recall the history of Ghana, anytime you go through IMF, the cumulative effect has been to worsen the economic plight of the Ghanaian.
Example, when did that happen? Because I remember that the last one we went through actually gave us a bounce in 2017 when our GDP actually was the highest that your administration or this administration ever experienced, almost 8%. Because the 8% GDP growth that we saw in 2017, we said those were actually a lagged sort of reporting, because the real economic growth actually happened in 2016, and we were just now catching up on that.
I think you are just espousing the arguments of the NDC. That's because we've been through IMF under Kwesibo Trade. Ghana was under IMF for several years before, like under Rawlings, before Kufuor came and took us off under IMF. The Ghanaian economy was not growing. In fact, a lot of the industries that we had in Ghana shut down under IMF policies because they preached that we should not subsidize like local industries. We should open up the economy.
I think we should not misinform, because if you quite remember, when Rawlings came into power, the reason Rawlings came into power in the 1980s was we had a negative economic growth. We were actually declining about 10%. The structural adjustment took us from that negative growth to a positive 8% or so.
No. That 8%.
Maybe we should go back and look. Maybe we should go back and look at that.
No, I actually studied it in school because I was in school during.
I can put a graph for you. I can put the IMF graph for you and show you.
Because listen, Rawlings did not come back because he was invited to this country. Rawlings took power, and if you look at the policies of Dr. Hilary Mann, Hilary Mann was actually restructuring the Ghanaian economy to where eventually Rawlings followed the same pathway. For the first 10 years of Ghana, this Mr. Legacy was talking about the extension of electricity. I was in secondary school when electricity, yes, Rawlings did well in that, but you know how long it took him for electricity to reach where I was in school? It was a big town. 10 years. 10 years. It was 1992.
So, my brother, you eventually got electricity in your town. Compare the
what I'm saying is
Rawlings to get it done.
No, listen.
From your own within. Somebody who says that
the Rawlings
there is no way electricity will get to the regime.
No, we should not whitewash.
Okay, I heard you saying that.
We should not whitewash military takeovers and the backward history.
One at a time. Lifetime legacy.
Yeah, Mr. Legacy, let me finish. You've had your time.
Allow you, but
You've had your time. You've had your time, please.
Okay.
So
I'm just showing this graph quickly so you can just kind of use this for reference. This is back in the 80s, right? We look at this in the 70s. We were actually negative 12%. When Rawlings came in, look at this. We were negative 6%. The structure adjustment took us all the way up to positive 8%. All right, and we stay in the positive since.
Don't think I can see your.
This is from the World Bank
graph you're showing. But anyway,
this is from the World Bank.
You see,
can you share it on our platform?
Yeah, I can see it. But anyway,
Google this stuff and you see, if you Google GDP growth Ghana, you see where we went 70. This is the reason the coups actually were happening, though. A lot of those coups actually took us to the negative. And then in the 80s,
Dr. Hillary Mann was in power for how long?
Okay, Rawlings came back in so Dr. Hillary Mann, this is Hillary Mann's time, right? He was in power from 78 to
Liman was in power for 27 months.
Yes, 78.
So Mr. Amuzu, with all what the knowledge you've accrued, do you think that and he took over from a military regime? Don't forget that.
Right.
Yeah. With all the knowledge that you've accumulated, do you think that it takes 27 months to change around the economy? You have to think about what what plans did this man or was he laying down? Eventually, Rawlings and his team adopted a lot of the plans that Hillary Mann. Some of the accusations against Hillary Mann was that he was driving Peugeot car. Today we are whitewashing the reason why that coup d'etat happened. At the end of the day, those who overthrew Hillary Mann were driving Pajeros and SUVs. A lot of them became like super rich. And these were some of them were like humble civil servants. They became super rich. So let's not go back there. That coup d'etat was not invited. The country was on the right course. We had democracy before the 81 coup. We were on a democratic path. He disrupted it for over 10 years. That is the history of Ghana. And let's not whitewash it.
So you see the IMF graph, just so we can the World Bank graph, just so we can put this in context, right? You could see in 1975, we were negative 12. We were actually declining by almost negative 12%. Then we went up to 8% in 1978, which is the first Rawlings coup, and we came down to negative 2 in 1979. Hillary Mann took over in the 1980s. We came down to negative 6.9, and then when Rawlings came back in 2000, Rawlings came back in 1982. We were in the negative. We started climbing. In 1983, when the structural adjustment started, we went from the negative 6 to negative 4. Then we grew to 8.6%, and we've stayed in the positive since. And so the impact of the structural adjustment was to take us from negative 6 to positive 8.6, and we stayed in the positive since. So this is the World Bank's.
Yeah, listen.
Yeah.
If you live through that course during those times, even you recall that when Kufuor came to power, Ghana was fined by the World Bank for for data massaging. I'm telling you that if you live through that course during those years, if you experienced it, you will not be citing this kind of data that you are citing.
This is the World Bank data. That's the
no. It's not forget about
massaging data here.
World Bank data. The World Bank, we have our own statistical services that collects data. The World Bank is not ingrained into our system that they collect all the data for us.
So are you trying to say that the Ghana services that the number will be different from
what I'm telling you is that Ghana went through severe economic crisis that led to the sale of even our stake in Obuasi gold mines. That it's so sad that over time we basically rewrite history. If you listen to Kwesi Boche when he was reading the budget during those years, telling us how gloom things are, how right after the budget, the way economic outlook of the country basically went to the south. Prices went like right after the budget, huge price increase, huge in gas, in petrol, in like transportation and everything. You would not be citing this data.
I mean, I'm surprised that you are telling me that.
Yes, you wouldn't be citing this data if you live through the years, because when the regime changed, then we like a new regime came in. The World Bank saw that, okay, Ghana, you have been feeding us wrong data. They were going to fine us, I think it was like $60 million for feeding them wrong data. So there's a reason why the country was under IMF. If everything, when your economy is growing, you don't go under IMF. Right. That is simple logic. When your economy is growing, you don't go under IMF.
All the time
we were going through economic hardships. So even our stake in Obuasi Gold Mines, we used to own 45% in Obuasi Gold Mines. They gave a big chunk of it away and raised $200 million at that time. So the point I'm making is that the years of Rawlings is nothing to write home about. It doesn't mean that he didn't do anything.
This statement is misleading.
No, it doesn't mean that he didn't do anything. He did something, but it's nothing to write home about. And even the democracy that we have now, it's not as a result of Rawlings, because Rawlings was against it when we're going into 1992. He was against the whole democratic thing. But it was falling on him. So let's not rewrite.
Your claims are misleading.
Yeah, let's decouple this thing. The fact that you have a positive GDP growth doesn't mean you can go to the IMF. The reason we go to the IMF is when we fail or we are unable to meet our obligations. We are able to meet our interest payment. When we are able to pay our bills, that's what we go to the IMF for. Not for GDP growth. So those are two different things to start with.
You are right to an extent. But the thing is, if you look at the trend that you are projecting, if the country is growing, the economy is growing like you are citing 8-something%. When those days, if Ghana's budget was about 1-point-something billion when Kwesibuchi was reaching the budget, it was nothing to write. The economy was very small.
The economy wasn't big, so
but it was under their watch. They had been in power for like almost 20 years out of was something years.
Okay.
But the thing is, let's
I think Mr. Kwamina is misleading the public. NDC or PNDC have never been in power for 20 years. Okay,
yeah, Kwamina, go ahead and finish your point. Let's not get interrupted by. I took your mic off, so because you interrupted me, so we can go. Kwamina, wrap your points up so we can go. Ato, are you done? Okay, let me bring in Daniel. Daniel, can you hear me?
Alfred, I'm here. I was speaking. I'm going to wrap it up. What I'm saying is that we are in times that calls for us to sacrifice for this sake of our country.
Right.
As a country, we've gone through such periods in the past. It was okay when, we were paying, we were called for to pay 17.5% in value-added taxes, even though it was protested and then it was shaved to 10%. It was fine. Nobody's calling for 10% taxation or anything. This is an E-levy. And those of us who live abroad, we know how much we pay in taxes, levies, etc. It's just that in Ghana, the state has its tentacles in so many things. So we account it to the state. Here, if I'm paying my sewage, I'm not even thinking that it's a tax. But in Ghana, I would think of it as a tax because the money is going directly to the government. In America, or as a developing country, all that we have to do is we have to look at how other people have developed their country. They have set the formula for us. We are not reinventing any wheel. We have to just copy what they have done. And what they have done is that you have to pay, basically you have to be taxed. We have to broaden the tax net. 12% of our people are paying income taxes. I have someone working on a project for me, and that person, when I send him the money, I know he's not paying any tax on that amount. It's wrong. We have to change the way we do our things in Ghana. This is a start. Property taxes in Ghana, it's almost zero. Very few people pay property taxes. We have to tax it. We do that. What is good for the goose is also good for the
what the government is focused on.
Yeah, but you see, it's all of the above. If today they bring property taxes, somebody will arise that hey.
I don't think anybody
will start from somewhere. You have to start from somewhere. If E-levy is the start, that's fine.
See, the property tax and all those things have already been on our books as a law.
I'm not implementing it. It's not about the books. Yeah, so what I'm saying is that...
So hold on. Go ahead and enforce those things that are already on the books that will bring you the revenue. Don't bring new taxes. That's what we are saying. And your own vice president pretty much agrees with this. But I'm sure you are, you want to wrap up in the next 30 seconds so we can get to it.
Yeah. Wrapping up, all that I'm saying is that it takes money to build a country. That money should not just be borrowed money. It should come from the people. We have, as a country, we've been pampered for too long. It's time for us to step up and build our country. If E-levy is the start, that's fine. Maybe with the ID card system that's now in place, property taxes will be easier to now get retrieved. Maybe income taxes will become easier to retrieve. But before then, we did not even have any of those systems in place. And putting those systems in place is also part of infrastructure project. I don't have to drive by. When I drive by, I don't see the sewage system in America, but it's there. And it makes things work. So ID card, free education, the fundamentals that have been put in place under this government, it's also part of infrastructure project. If I limit myself to things that I can only drive by and see, then I am basically skewing what the country needs, and we are neglecting so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. That is Ato Komena Beidu debut on the Ghana agenda, and so far we love it. We would bring you back if you are available to join us, and I'm sure at the time you would have your makeup on, so that would be good. Professor Daniel Nanayaw Asari, you have your mic on mute so we can hear anything you say. So if you can take yourself off mute and then contribute to us. I know you've heard a lot from the beginning to now. I've seen you try to join a couple of times. I'm going to give you the free range to rebut, contribute. If there are some of the justifications that we haven't so far discussed that you would like to put forward, please feel free to do so. In the meantime, there are some comments here. Say some of you MPP guys always are making comments without listening to what they are saying. Okay, so some people are just making some bad comments in our feed here, but I'm not reading those because of the nature of the comments that they are making, and that is what Bright Sedofia is referring to. So, Daniel, over to you. Please take yourself off mute and let's hear you.
Yeah. What do you call it? I think that I shoot myself with most of the comment from Estonia. Is he really in Estonia?
No, he's in the United States. He's just to Ghana and only have 5 cedis. So Estonia, you need to tell us exactly what that name means. By the way, go ahead.
Yeah, I think I associate myself with most of the comment you made. And then some of the comment that you made about the analysis he was making, not everything, but at least for some of them. So I think generally, yes. I mean, E-levy is a necessary evil. Even if MPP doesn't implement, it's like having oil, right? Like the way we have oil, a trouble gas.
Right.
And then if you have oil, a trouble gas is a natural consequence. You just have to, it doesn't matter which government came into power. That project will still have to go on because it's just a logical way to go. Right? So sometimes, it doesn't matter which government is in power, those things will still go the way it has to go because it's just part of the natural development process. And E-levy is like that. So you can decide to delay, decide to do whatever you want to do. E-levy,
but the understanding is we don't think e-levy should actually be there at all. The advanced countries that actually initiated the platforms for that we are currently taking advantage of, none of them actually. Let's point to an advanced country where there is an electronic levy, payment on electronic levy or whatever, or there's a levy on electronic transfers. Which advanced country is doing this?
Advanced, don't worry. When it comes to governance and policies and technology, it has to start from somewhere. The fact that the advanced country doesn't do it doesn't mean that you can't do it. If it is right for you.
The justification we are having that we have this pot of money out there and therefore the government need to tap into it is completely lazy. I mean, there is nothing.
Yeah. When what do you call it? Medical drone delivery. The advanced countries don't do it. But that doesn't mean that's how technology is.
They do it in advanced countries. The United States even is doing it.
No, we started, when I say do it, when we started or when Rwanda started that concept. It wasn't on mass scale. Many people were not familiar. They were, kind of the idea was there, but they didn't really want to get into it. You get what I'm trying to say? Right. So, yeah, some things, your circumstances, your history will naturally evolve some things in the environment. So, e-levy, at some point, whether you like it or not, as the way the landscape is going, our countries will begin to think about ways and means like that. So, for me, it's not a matter of, what do you call it, if. It's a matter of when. That is just the question, a matter of when. It's just a matter of timing. Yeah, you can decide to. And
that is what a lot of people disagree. A lot of people think that when shouldn't even happen. Well, I mean, this is just electronic. This is just payment. You're not doing anything but paying, and you have to pay tax because you are paying. You know,
it's not tax. Government is saying levy. You see, there's a reason why
levy tax.
A tax from the way I see taxes are slightly different. A levy is more like a compulsory something. Government says everybody should contribute to it.
It's compulsory. If you meet the threshold, you have to pay.
It's not a typical like traditional tax, you know, the way we know it from when you look at levy. Levy is, and that's how I see it. And that's what I see government is trying to do. Oh, everybody pay something, and this is how we're going to collect this levy, you know. But whatever that is, I think that, you know what, every decision that you take as a political party has consequences, right? So let them take it and, stay with the consequences. That's why it's a political game. That's why there's a reason why it's called a political party with a policy. Let the political party go do their policy and let whoever thinks he has a superior policy put his argument out there and convince the electorate. That is why it's a democracy. They are not going to stay on there. 4 years, the people will evaluate whose alternative made sense given the time period that we're looking at, and they'll evaluate them. So for me, I'm not too worried about.
That's why the people have representation in parliament. The representation of the people. It doesn't even necessarily mean because you win political power, you have the free way to do whatever you wish. We have representation in parliament to represent the people and canvass what the people are expecting. So the parliamentarians are actually speaking for the people, and they don't want this thing. Even your own. My understanding is Ajo Safo is stalling. That's why this thing is.
I don't have a problem with that. That he represents the people. So whatever he decides for the people, that is
people don't want it to vote.
I don't have a problem with that. But at the end of the day, the process and let the process decide the outcome, right?
Okay.
So the fact that yes, the opposition all have ganged up and said we don't like it. Yes, if you don't like it, at the end of the day, there's a process, right? Let the speaker sit in there. That is the job of the speaker. Sit in there, allow the parties to decide what they want to do. The speaker was there last week. The speaker should not be influencing this outcome because you are a speaker. You are not an.
How is he? He sat in parliament last week, and you had all the opportunity to bring the bill in. Everybody was waiting for you to bring the bill in, and you couldn't.
Listen to me. I'm not blaming the speaker. I'm saying that in a democracy where the system is set up and everybody is functioning correctly, right? The speaker sit in there and allow the political parties to debate it and trash it out and decide whatever they want to do.
Isn't that what he's doing?
I'm not saying he's not doing that. I'm only telling you that is how it will eventually play out in the political process where everything is set up correctly. You get what I'm trying to say?
Sure. Okay.
Let the parties fight it out among them. So let them make the argument. If there's no consensus, let them vote on it. Whoever wins the day, that is the democratic process, right? Let that process go out. And then the consequences of that decision, however it is, will still come back to their own people, the people who elected them. they will have the opportunity to evaluate these policies and decide if indeed these people came to represent their best interest. That is the essence of democracy. Otherwise, you are not going to tell me that everybody's going to agree on any policy. No, some people disagree. So for me, I'm not too worried about the back and forth. It is the right of the opposition to decide to say we don't want to support a policy. That is their right. It is the right for the government to say, I think it's a good policy. I'm going to have the numbers legitimately, or have the numbers to be able to pass it. Therefore, I'll pass it and let the consequence be felt out there and let the people decide. So in this case, I think that nothing, is really gonna miss here. You get what I'm trying to say? The only unique thing is that this time round, you see an overwhelming majority or the whole opposition saying we are against it. But the fact that the whole opposition say we are against it does not mean that the bill will stall or the bill will not pass. Because this, you don't need 2/3. You need a simple majority. So if Bagman is sitting in and doing his role as a speaker, and the whole house is seated, and in the extreme case, that will be the final result, right? The last result. And they are to vote. The MPP will have their way because of that independent person that they have.
Right.
So,
but my understanding is there's defection in MPP.
Well, that is your understanding. That is speculation at this point. Let it get there and let that play out.
All they need to do is bring the bill to the floor. And there were days they had everybody. Like the speaker was sitting, they had everybody. They should bring the bill to the floor.
I'm with you. In parliament, in politics, there's strategy, right? There's strategy. The fact that you have a bill to pass doesn't mean that you tell them when they have to bring it. In politics, tactics work, strategy work. It's part of the game. So when they decide they want to bring it, let them bring it. It's their bill. It's their government. It's their policy, right?
So you're going to use tactics to pass it. That's what you're saying.
I'm saying that, like, how will it be legitimate in the scheme of the process that I just outlined to you?
I mean,
they'll be within their right to do whatever they want to do. If the setup is set up the way I describe it to you, and everybody's going about their normal duty, let them pass it and go and face the consequence. So I don't want us to, waste too much time about this. This is going to have political consequence from the way I'm looking at it. The two parties are going to go at each other, and it's going to run through to 2024. Let it be, so be it. And at the end of the day, the Ghanaian people will decide and evaluate on that. So as far as it goes for me, I have a reason why I support E-levy. Because
what are your reasons?
My reason is that whenever we talk about corruption and whenever we start talking about these things in Ghana, people usually don't pay it. They think that it's just some exclusive group of people that corruption really matters to or concern. Even when there is demonstration about when public monies have been stolen by public officials and people need to demonstrate their anger, they leave it to a few people to do that work because they don't pay the tax and they don't feel the benefit of it. They think that, when we talk about these things, it's for some people. And for us, we don't care. Now that everybody is going to pay and feel the pinch, if tomorrow they come and tell you that some government official has misappropriated money, it is nobody will tell you to get up.
Everybody's paying ESLA, everybody's paying VAT.
No, you don't get what I'm saying. That is indirect, so people don't really see it. Now, when it's in your place,
E-levy is indirect.
No. E-levy is direct.
It's not direct. It's indirect. A direct tax is indirect.
No, why do you say it's indirect? If I send money and you are taking me, I'm going to see it directly in my face, right? It's going to be in the face of it. That's how I'm trying to explain the direct here. People are going to see that, hey, this was the tax the government took from me. But when they buy something, they usually don't take it. How many people even take receipt and watch the receipt and say, oh, this is how much VAT I paid? Because they are buying in smaller quantities too. So they don't really see how much they are paying into the kitty in terms of tax. But with E-levy, it is right in your face, big time. If you send the money, you can see.
Yeah. In that sense, E-levy is direct tax because
in that sense,
directly to the transactor.
Yes, in that sense, people's mind will come to the fact that, hey, this is the tax I pay to government. And if somebody come tell you,
again, that is not you don't impose tax just because you want people to feel the effect and be, we are saying that even this particular tax in itself is discriminatory. It discriminates against who pays, because the mere fact that you are not paying using the platform excludes you from the tax.
The tax is
and so people can choose to avoid this tax merely by not using
exactly. So in that sense, it's still discriminatory. You have the option, right? You can decide to say I don't pay this tax to Ghana. You can avoid the tax avoidance. There are some taxes I avoid in Ghana. I don't engage in those activities, and I just don't pay them. So if the people really care about the tax, then that's the thing I like. Then it's not compulsory technically the way we are talking about it because people have the option, right?
But it's counter to the digitization agenda. You know, you can't want people to open up the economy through digitization at the same time hinder them because you've provided them.
That argument, I think we've gone over it before, right? Yes, a counterintuitive is that there are trade-offs in economics. Nothing comes for free. I mean, you know that. Every decision that you make, there's a trade-off. Somebody is going to lose and somebody is going to gain. Eventually, we want to look at the gain outweighs the loss, so that societal, whatever, welfare function is increased. They're not going to have any policy that will come and satisfy everybody. So if people talk like that, then I don't know. In their own life, when they make decisions, aren't there trade-offs? They make trade-offs. So government, like you are saying, eventually, yes, it will cannibalize some of those people who are using the mobile money. Yes, some element of that will go away. The proportion of the element of those that will go away is not going to outweigh the entire benefit that government is going to get from implementing them. In that sense, from a government perspective, the benefit outweighs the cost. So you go ahead with it. There's a trade-off that is going to happen. So as for me, like I said, now we know clearly that the NDC is against it. And there's a record that is going to be there for the NDC. If the NPP gets away with it and be able to show good cause of this thing, then the NDC will now have a battle of hell to now try to explain.
The NDC, the NPP has now been very accountable for all the monies made available to them, and therefore it's hard for people to say that it's going to make any impact.
I would say that is speculation. They just went to the post a year ago, and if that was a really concern for most Ghanaians,
your election was not won legitimately.
Well, that's a different conversation.
You never won the election legitimately.
Well, all right, so guys.
I'm talking facts of what has happened now.
I'm saying that your election was not won legitimately.
What you are saying, you haven't proven it. It's speculation at this point.
Okay, there's a comment from okay, so Daniel, I'll let you wrap up so we can.
So to wrap up, I think we've had the argument, and that is the beauty about democracy alike, that the opposition have the reason to show cause why they disagree on the policy and argue their cause. But the sad thing about democracy is that is why it's a majority rule, right? Whether the majority is right or not, eventually that is the trade-off that democracy allows for. Whether they are right or not, because they are majority rule, we set up the rule like that they will have their way. And then, yes, as they will have their way, they won't have their way to perpetuity. At some point, the people will evaluate that way. Whether that way was the right way, people will have the opportunity to evaluate it. So let the system play out and let the MPP, is their policy, their baby.
Well, currently they have their way, and you're saying their way is gonna be that E-levy doesn't see a light of day, and you are saying that, of course, let that happen because at the end, the people will have the final say on who's right, who's not right.
Exactly. All right.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for that contribution. I told Kwamina, who's still with us, you said advanced countries do not have digital addresses. That is not true. We do have digital addresses, and he said it is actually better than the current address system in the US. The US have digital addresses. If you plug your address in whatever platform, matter of fact, you can take the longitude and the latitude and plug it in, and it will point you directly to your personal address. It's just that is not used because it is not readable to the eye as that. Even the digital system address we have now is not readable to the eye. Addresses are better off when you can read it, when you can just, right now in Ghana, you can't tell somebody your digital address and their grandmother will understand. So we do have digital address in advanced countries. That is not true to say we don't.
Alfred,
let's do the final words and roll out. So whatever comment you have to make, Lifetime Legacy, can you keep that in your final word, please?
Okay.
So let's start from it's almost 3 hours on and counting.
I think we are all adults.
Go with your final word.
Yeah, I think we are all adults and also intellectuals who are on this platform. When we want to talk, we should speak on facts, things that are verifiable. We should not put on the political lens and make comments that when we are subjected to prove, we won't be able to prove them. That is exactly what my brother Atu Kwamina came to show up here. It is unfair.
Right, no personal attacks.
It's not. Yes, no, but it's unfair for him to say that just looking at my face on the screen, he can attest that he's older than me. That is unfair comment from, I think, should not come from somebody who is enlightened, and I take strong exception to that. He doesn't know my age. I may probably be even older than him, but I look young. I think
Lifetime legacy. Lifetime legacy.
We should speak to
I'm
issues
writing
rather
the
than we should speak to issues rather than going on that tangent. And that is becoming too much of MPP. Anyway, I think, like we all have said on this platform, and also have witnessed from our viewers, E-levy, for me, it's a lazy man approach. It's a lazy form of, I don't know whether it's not even classified as tax. So the MPP can do better. They claim they have the men. They should go and think out of the box and bring something meaningful. Aside that, I have noticed that they are trying to calm some of our people into submission by arranging them in a court. That will not deter a party that is born out of revolution. They should get this very, very clear.
What does that mean?
What I'm saying is that they are trying to reduce our numbers.
Flout the laws, and the person is being taken to court. What has your revolutionary background to do with this?
Alfred, the Asinov MP was cleared by Electoral Commission to contest election. Before he picked a nomination form, he made all this information available to them before he was cleared.
Right.
Okay. So if there is any institution rather that should be blamed, it should rather be the Electoral Commission. You get it? You don't turn around again to use these Machiavellian parties in trying to reduce the numbers we have in Parliament by doing so.
Let's stretch that example a little bit. So you file your tax with the IRS because it's tax season, right? You file your tax with the IRS accepted your tax and gave you a refund. Then later on, upon examination, they found that, hey, your tax is, actually fraudulent. They, and then the appeal, one of the courts actually came after you, summoned you. You are saying that they should be summoning the IRS because the IRS accepted your taxes?
Alfred, you are comparing orange with apple. I have contested elections using that same process before. So I know exactly what I'm talking about. Right from district level election, when you want to become a candidate of a political party, okay, through that process, you are giving those the same form that you need to provide those informations before you are cleared to contest election.
Right.
I have subjected myself to those processes before, and I know what goes into it. You
right.
get it? If the MPP wants to be, if it is not out of mischief, or what they are doing is not born out of mischief, it should, if they have any questions to ask, it shouldn't be coming from the man. It should be coming from the institution that cleared the man to contest the election.
Nah.
You get it? So your comparison, bringing in an IRS team, for me, it's far away from the reality.
Okay, the matter is before court, so we'll just wait to see how it unravels.
So in wrapping up, they should listen to what Ghanaians are saying. If there is any if there is any decision that has been unpopular before Ghanaian, as far as this clueless, incompetent administration is concerned, it is the E-levy.
Okay.
Yeah, because the academians are speaking against it. Even journalists who doesn't have opinion on issues are even speaking against it. The ordinary people on the street are speaking against it. The farmer is speaking against it. The fisherman is speaking against it. I mean, just it's only good to the argument is only sound logic in the ears of only MPP members.
Right.
You get it? So I think they should eat a humble pie by withdrawing this and go back and find different method and way to make money rather than using this incompetent way.
Okay.
As it will be said by in our local language, so wait, you have gotten more than 400 billion. That you couldn't provide jobs, you couldn't provide. Now it is becoming to what do you call it, comedy. That if you say teachers teacher training allowances are not being paid, they say E-levy. Fertilizer, they say E-levy. as if we are E-levy is becoming the panacea of all solutions. Like they did in
they say it's like a herbal medicine. Anyway,
you get it. Like they did proud to 2016 election. If you say teenage pregnancy, they say free education. If you say gutters are choke, free education.
All right,
I mean, that is the same thing they want to do.
And yet they won. They won. So what does that
wrapping up, my brother Ifa
already, my brother. So
yeah, my brother Ifa and Daniel. You guys have seen it all in life. You are well experienced. You are well exposed. You have better knowledge than like I have been saying. I will support my brother Ifa over Baumia. You get it in so many things. So try to go back and educate your people a better way to tax their citizens or to make money rather than this cheap and illogical way they want to use.
All right. Thank you so much, Lifetime Legacy. Lifetime Legacy, just to remind, to chip in this, that I don't think anything at all Kwamina Beidu said is personal. So I notice you are a little bit, perturbed, but don't. This is political football. We come here and push each other's button a little bit. And that's what all that it is. So don't be overly annoyed, okay?
I am not annoyed, but I think it's just a comment that is not healthy.
I'm going to bring him in and maybe he can...
because you know what I did? After he said that, I also went to his Facebook to check his profile. I may probably be older than him.
It's all the snooping things you did on him, okay? Anyway, I talked about...
Yeah, this is funny. Yeah. Anyway, I think Mr. Legacy has forgotten that he. I understand why he finds it annoying, but he actually. Let me just remind him that he actually started it because when one of my comments was read on air, he said something to the effect that maybe I am young, I did not see what was happening, what happened during those times. So I mean, and even what I said was that I am probably looking at his picture. I said I'm probably older than him, or unless like he has like a baby face or
baby face.
Yeah. And I took his earlier comment in like as part of the political it gets hot in the kitchen, so I didn't take it personal, and I suggested he shouldn't take what I said personal. But anyway, the point I will end on is that to develop a country is not easy, and as a country or as a people, we don't have to reinvent any wheel. Other countries have developed. All we have to do is look at how they did it, adapt to suit our situation. And I think looking at what this present administration has done during their first term in office, especially prior to COVID-19 pandemic, they were laying down the infrastructure. They were putting down the infrastructure, and I'm not talking about physical drive-by infrastructure. I'm talking about like true infrastructure that actually turns a country around. They were putting those things down so that Ghana would also take off. It's just unfortunate that nobody foresaw this pandemic coming in to like basically upheave everything. But it is what it is. Right now, we have received the brunt of this pandemic. It damaged our economy. If it's even for 1 year, that's a huge, massive disruption. And that disruption the costs need to be corrected. If we are called upon, those who like use mobile money or e-transaction to like the 60% of us who statistically do not fall under the low income bracket, we are called upon to pay 1.75 or 1.5% taxes or levy on our transactions. I don't think that's unheard of considering what other countries have gone through historically. Historically, when countries went through financial difficulties, especially like due as a result of war, massive taxation was the next thing that followed to pay off, the war.
Yeah, actually,
Ours
came out of
is
that.
an artificial. It's not a war, but in a way, this pandemic has a war has beaten down on our economy, so to speak. So it's now time for us to make a little sacrifice to like straighten the course of the country, and in doing that, that should not be the end. The other parts that needs to be done is that more people need to be roped into the tax bracket. If we do that alone, we wouldn't have to even raise the tax rate, because there are so many people in Ghana who are basically not contributing much in terms of income taxes, but yet they are the loud majority. They talk a lot. They want roads. They want this. We are not paying property taxes, but we want the streets paved. We are doing things magically, as if countries developed with magical thinking. We need to go back, and it's all a science. There are empirical evidences to support how a country is developed. We are adopting it now. We should just keep on adopting it, and Ghana will also make things will be better in Ghana for everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So Atokomene is speaking to our patriotic instincts and saying that, it's time we all chip in a little bit to cater for the dying times or the kind of critical economic situations we currently have ongoing. Thanks for joining the show, and I'm especially inviting you to join us next week. There's a platform that we have, and we all
How are you?
Yes.
Yeah, so Kwame, Fuji, this is my first time meeting him, but I hope he's coming on like next week and all subsequent weeks.
Yes. I hope to be part of the family for a very long time.
Yes, Kwame is going to be part of the family. I'm going to add him, and Ato, if you want as well, we have a Ghana Agenda platform that I can add you to, and the argument doesn't stop here. It actually continues in the back, and it even gets more, serious in the back end. So if you're interested, I'm happy to add you to that platform.
I think I like the fact that he has a lot of context when he's talking about stuff, so that way his expectation is measured, right? How are we going to Ghana and be expecting that they will be honest people when the system that you and I know we grew from make us dishonest people by the concept?
Well, I don't think you are dishonest. I still think you are a very honest person, and everybody on this platform. By the time you come to this show, I actually do an honesty test. So all of you are very honest.
The Ghana example that he was giving you,
Yeah.
So
I mean, we are trying to read that off. We are trying to use this platform, as small as it is. We are trying to use it as a way to bring people with character and thickness to actually steer our country away from its current rotten state of deep throat corruption. So, like I said, before you come to this platform, you're an honest person.
Even though my time it's over, let me share this funny story. It's a reality story anyway,
because we gotta go.
There is this gentleman who was in the US and came to Ghana to head one of
the babies. Go ahead, quick.
To head one of the institutions where I was privileged to be working. I was privileged to be working under him, and then in his first day at work, he was trying to spell out the rules and how things are done in America. Okay, then everybody was looking each other's face. To sum the long story short, he could not stay. The system will frustrate you. In as much as you and I would like the right thing to be done, the system is such a way that you cannot make progress.
Kwame Nkrumah can never speak like the way you are speaking right now. The system will frustrate, but we have to change it. If Kwame Nkrumah was thinking like that, by now we would still be under the colonial rule of You know who. Anyway, let's bring in. I want to reserve a fire for the last, right? Because there's gonna be some firework coming from there. So so let me go to Daniel. Daniel, I like the. Okay, you have the baby, so of course we can skip you and come back to you. Mr. Estonia Borga, you've come on as usual, and I was expecting nothing but the best from you. I've been on programs with you before, and I'm actually a fan myself. People enjoyed, the things you have, the contributions you have to make, except that I disagree that we can actually make Ghana a very honest country. I believe Ghana is a majority of the people are very honest, but of course there are. Of course,
your argument.
Yeah.
Your argument is going to be valid if maybe we switched off to a voodoo system where if you lied, you died on the spot. Maybe.
Not a voodoo system. Not a voodoo system. But even though as corrupt as it may be, or as rotten as it may be, we still need a hope, courage that we can make it right. Just like, like I said, the good old Osajifo dreamt about a country that would actually manage itself because we the blacks were actually not even considered as people who can manage our own affairs until Kwame Nkrumah proved them wrong. We are now telling ourselves that we in Ghana cannot be honest to our people as politicians, and I disagree heavily. But you have the floor. Give us your last words. And we'll take
to your point, there is a certain sense of. I just returned from Ghana about 2 weeks ago, so there's a certain sense of hopelessness with our people now. And a lot of the young people that are there now, they have a certain expectation. They are exposed to so much information. They watch American television, they watch all these things, so they don't contextualize these things. They want it here and now. So some of them will steal, they will engage in money laundering. And I went to some places in Accra. This is the side note. They were selling tables. Maybe, what's the name? Lifetime Legacy will attest to this. They are selling tables, they have drink, and it was 20,000 Ghana cedi per table. And 20,000 Ghana cedi per table was finished. That people were angry that they couldn't get the 20,000. And I was sitting in the back with a friend. I said, brother, I want to go home also. So I've already reserved the 10,000 one for four. But then I was so afraid. I said, hey, I just made a quick calculation. And it wasn't old people. It was just regular 35-year-old. Maybe the oldest, maybe 41, 42. And I was questioning myself. Are these people living in Ghana? What kind of jobs do these guys do? Then they can spend 20,000, which is like maybe $4,000, $3,800 to $4,000 a night. Like what? I was shocked, But there's a certain hopelessness with a certain class of the people, and there's a certain class of the people that don't even feel it at all. Because if you wander within certain circles or certain corridors of power, you're not going to see it. But what I ask all our audience is not to give in to despair, not to give in to hopelessness. There's going to be a better day. Better days are coming. So they should never give up. Before there's going to be the rain, there has to be the storm. So let's all go through this with a certain veracity, temerity, and certain strength. Ghana is not a weak society. We are not going to give up. We'll do our best to be the best country that we can be. But this E-levy is going to face a mountainous challenge. And the NPP should not think people are just going to believe this E-levy thing. But Ghanaians are wise enough to make choices for themselves. But we are here. We are going to see how it goes.
All right.
Nice to meet everybody too.
So before you go, are you for or against the E-levy?
I'm on the fence. I can't quite say I'm for it. I can't quite say I'm against it. I'm still getting information from certain people. As soon as I have some stuff, I'll forward it to you so you can also read for yourself. So there's a lot of information that's still coming out.
So you're undecided.
I'm undecided, yes.
All right. Thank you so much for coming. And like I said, you are a natural. Okay. Daniel. Where's the baby? We want to see the baby. Anyway.
Yeah, he's going to talk. I'm trying to put that away.
All right. So, I mean, we had two babies coming today, one from Estonia and you. So we love them. These are the future, you know. We hope they actually take this to the CNN levels.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So give us your last word, Daniel. And then
so I think that, I mean, it's good for our democracy. I think the parliament that we have, that's how democracy are going to evolve, right? We're going to experiment with different parliament, different proportion of minority, majority, and eventually we'll come to know ourselves better through that process. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Let me end here. So whatever is happening, let's not see it as negative. It's positive, but it's something we have to give, right? We have to go through this to know more of ourselves. Let us know more of the Ghanaian person when he's faced with this situation. Now so it's good for us. Me, I don't have any problem with anybody as far as it is not violent, and people I want to make all the debate, all the sound argument, and protest heavily, and they are not. I mean, that is part of it. I don't have any problem. So I think it's good. Let's watch the space and see. And you see, political accountability is coming. Can you see, because of E-levy, the government is forced to go and conduct town hall levy? That tells you how potent the opposition has been enforcing the government to this point, and that is good for democracy.
You should be thanking NDC for that.
Of course, that tells
you should be thanking NDC for playing you to do that job.
Well, let me put it this way, right?
Yeah.
I don't think we would ever live through this period again where we would have parliament this split, So we should enjoy this as much as we can, because likelihood is that the next government will have a majority and things will not be debated with these entrenched positions being held by the opposing side. So
but political accountability is coming. E-levy is bringing accountability, but the two political parties now have to account to the Ghanaian people why they oppose or against a policy. Is that not the strength of a good democracy?
It is, but I'm saying that imagine if we had a majority MPP in parliament, this wouldn't even be an issue at all. It would have been passed long ago, would have moved on,
I agree.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's what I'm saying, that we are lucky we are in this moment, because we may never be in this moment again, where we have the house this evenly kind of divided. I wish there's a legislation that would actually keep the house permanently divided. But again, it's wishful thinking. All right. Thank you so much. I was going to say Dr. Nanayao Asari Amposa. If the PhD is not there yet, I'm awarding one right away. By the way, thanks for coming. Professor Efamayao. Yeah, I kept you all through, and it's been 3 hours. So I know you've been patient with me, and I really appreciate that. I can't do this show without you. Your voice is very big on this platform, and as usual, I know your final submission is going to be powerful, so lay it on us.
Thank you very much. Anyway, all of us are big and all of us have great voice, and everybody equally contribute. So let me clear some stuff. So I think Estonia Boga, I like that name very much. He said something about Babumia Lion and stuff like that. So this is something that has been put out there. You see, if we pick our political leaders' campaign and the statements they've made, and when they come to power, stuff that you will get a mismatch, among almost all of them. I mean, all of them. So the fact that somebody said don't tax them in one breath, and another time saying we should tax, and then really putting in place measures to take off that category of people that he thinks are poor and are in that bracket, and some other stuff. You cannot box all of them to say that. I think that statement is a political thing that has been put out there, and we shouldn't jump into it.
That is the reason why we are not supporting him. That is the reason
why no! Hey! You see, last time the guy, don't put me into. I will see you. I don't have a supporter here. I have. If we go to the Congress, I have who I will vote for, but I don't have a supporter like this person or that person. I'm an executive, and I have to maintain my distance. I have never confided in you. Any conversation we have outside of here, it's just between us. Don't go and quote me anyway. Don't report me. I will sue you and take some money. Now, issues about Rawlings, I think that everybody, all of us I have a very strong opinion about Rawlings. And one of it is that he had a decade of an opportunity to have changed most of the things we're talking about. For him to go sit back and complaining about people that he trusted and put in place, it tells you that, somehow he did not really have the system. So we all have strong views about him and stuff like that.
But just to challenge you a bit, you see, contest is very key, right? At the time, if you compare Rawlings' peers, the Singapore and those people, they didn't, in their continent, they didn't have the era of coup d'etat. Unlike Rawlings, who was living in the West African state where coup d'etat was the norm, and therefore, if you overthrew a government, you were more interested in protecting your presidency because other people were going to do coup d'etat against you as well.
As a matter of fact, how many coup attempts has actually has Rawlings actually
for information, my political science class, we are told that Rawlings had a lot of coup attempts on him. Just that he was a successful.
Including Courage Koshiga, who actually happens to be
just that he was a strong man to dispel them. That is how come Ghana kept that stability. So for nothing at all, Rawlings, by quelling those coups, created the last coup maybe and gave Ghana a lot of stability. But of course, you can't always eat your cake and have it, right? As he was concerned about keeping the stability and the peace, he couldn't also concentrate on doing the big heavy lifting. And that was how come he brought in some of the technocrats who eventually did not help him that much. Because he knew himself as a person was not there.
Oh my God. When you have two NPP people, one against Rawlings.
So when we're analyzing Rawlings, let's also give him the benefit of the context of the time and the zone or the West African area in which he was and what was the climate there. Unlike the other people in Asia who didn't have that same, you get what I'm trying to say, environment and context, and therefore could do whatever they had to do over that period of time. I just wanted to factor in that. And then we can be fair to history and fair to him as well.
Yeah, good. But I wouldn't go on that circle. And I'm just saying on that. I'm even saying the lighter part of what I don't like. I can go into deeper one, but that will bring more. That will push us into more distance. So I won't go there. That was just a comment I wanted to pass. Now, for anybody to think that Ato Forcing, Quasin, the Jomoro lady, and whoever, is being tried, and therefore somebody is after anybody, and that lifetime legacy is right now telling us that we should have gone to the EC. When Amu, the president we have was Honorable Amu and Sakunde, right? Under your government. Why didn't you go to the EC and ask the EC to be accountable for that? But you went after them and you jailed them. Okay, so we have a precedent, and that is exactly what we are going. All these things you're saying, they serving them and they're going about, it's all political stuff and stuff like that. You see, if we want to be honest, we want to rule a country. This is what we have interpreted our law to be. And that is how people have been jailed in the past. Why is it that you think that when it comes to this one, that one you are twisting the law, but it is the same way it goes for Dampare. Dampare arrested Captain Smart and he arrested Ousu Bempa. We all came here, we cheered him. Immediately he started with the MP and stuff that, as we're speaking, he has gone to arrest a president appointed person, a government official. Okay, so let us begin to have institutions and have these strong men build our institutions. It is an opportunity for them to build it. But it is here. It's good.
Let me interject in a bit.
Lifetime,
it's unfortunate that we didn't get a chance to discuss Dampare and a few other guys like the Greater Accra Minister. But for me, from where I sit objectively, if there is any appointment made by Akufo-Addo, that for me, I will say thumb up to him. It is these two appointments, most especially Dampare. You get it? So the fact that I belong to the NDC does not mean that I'll behave like NPP if there is something good in my neighbor's house. I will not talk about it. You get it? You get it? No, for me, I think I am one of the people who says that if the MP have broken the law, they should be go after. But that does not also around that the government will hide behind under E-levy, try to succeed in the E-levy.
Okay, that's not true. That's not true. Lifetime legacy. These are things that were already in the pipeline. Me and you, we know that before you take something to court, there's a lot of investigation that goes on. Okay. All right, guys. So please, that is not this thing. So you see, let us not undermine our institutions. Okay, they may not get it wrong. They may not get it right all the time. But once we see that they're doing it, let us ask for the institutionalization of their actions, so that when they are not there, we have this continuity and greatness that will go on. Having said, now what I want to say. What I want to say about the E-levy is that we keep asking for more. And we also know that there is revenue shortfall. Even though we are able to meet our targets, we all know we need to add more to that. If we look at the budget and how much we are collecting, there is not enough left for us to do a lot of other stuff. So for me sitting here, all the things we are doing, the Auditor General report, the infractions, the corruption, and blah, 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 we all need to rope all those monies in. And we should be grateful to Bawumia, who through this digitization and this government, right? For instance, we are told that the national service, we've cleared all these people, and that other things are coming up. We are able to use these cards and stuff like that to kick up some stuff. These are good news, So what is it that we collectively can do? You don't sit down, wish well for the other person, and then boom, it happens. If NDC really think that this E-levy, if passed, will send the government into opposition, you get the nice listen. Edge the government on, edge them on, let them do that. Because, here we are, we say this is what it's going to be used for. You say, no, it's not going to be used for that. It's going to be used for this. And that when it does not happen, what are we going to see, right? Go to opposition. But me sitting here, I trust this government that when they collect the money, they're going to use, just as they use the Dampare, just as they use this for all these stuff and in any case, all these things we're talking about, IMF and stuff like that, give me a single IMF project in Ghana that you can go and use the money for whatever you want to use the money for. They will deal with you will never forget. IMF and the World Bank are two institutions. I think there may be a couple of other ones where once they get the monitoring and the stuff like that, they will pin you to it. That's why in most cases, they don't want to go touch them. And they come and they tell you this and this and this and this and that. Right. So as we go for these things, it is important that we find a way to find some avenues and stuff like that to be able to collect all this money. Estonia Boga, since you are not decided, that's what the NDC, they already decided. Since you are not decided, do us a favor, right? And this is, and here is the thing. Let me say this. And after that, I'm going to need his number because I know he can do a lot of talking for all of us. Communication it can be a challenge based on people's mindset and based on how the water is polluted. And communication is this way. The most beautiful person on earth, just go and say, you are ugly. You can, that destroys the person. And there are people who specializes in that. So what we need to do is that we are asking for more. Government says 137 billion. It goes to parliament and they sit down and there's a need for them to add about 8 or more billion into it. And then they say, don't expand the tax revenue. If we don't expand, what is going to happen? It is either they're going to cut expenditure. People keep asking for more that we cannot even meet. We cut expenditure or we go for more loans. More loans, we say no. So the choice is actually within us. And for me sitting here, I would plead, in as much as we talk in these words, I also plead that, there may be arguments here and there for and against it, but it is important that we recognize that we need to add more to our revenue collection because it's not enough. Having said that, I'm always glad to be here. We have great guys here. Leonard, they come here and they contribute their quota. I respect everybody's view, even though sometimes I disagree. We will come here with Jojo and try to push in the stuff. Let us try to make this platform one of the best out there. It is important for me. Sometimes you read the comments that are coming on the Facebook and then you say, yeah, some people can punch. But that is how it goes. Sometimes people flare up and they can call you all sorts of names. But it is fine. Yeah. I am growing to accept these things. People call me names behind the scene and all that kind of stuff. What can we do? That is what we take it upon ourselves when we come into public service. See, we're doing some form of public service for our country. I will quote Buzia. He said, you're going to come into public life. You're going to get into people's affairs. There is this unkind thing out there called public opinion, and you have to deal with it. So you have to have that big stomach. You're going to put some of it in there, you know. So we sip in all these things, and as, you know, representing our political parties and our interests and our personal views, it is also important that when we come here as much as possible, let us make the show because we've been given the opportunity. We don't want to do it in such a way that, you know, it gets so heated that, you know, it becomes something else and somebody don't want to come and stuff like that. We will do my best. Just as I said in the beginning, it can be heated. But as much as possible, let us try and stick to the issues, provide the facts, contribute to it, and make this one of the best out there, you know, that we can be proud of. And then when you are invited here, then you feel proud and you feel part of the game and you feel part of the development. And when we see your policy, when you see your idea being implemented, you say, wow, this is Estonia Boga. You see, now they hear it. And don't we ever think that the leaders don't hear these things? They hear them. So let's take the insults out and let us push in the ideas, push it in. We may be different, but we are all on the same path towards development. Thank you very much, and God bless every one of us.
Thank you so much for acknowledging that Mahama Ameri Plants is serving Kumasi very well. Thank you for acknowledging that.
So God bless you. Let me echo what Ato says here. Well said, Kakape, and I'm saying that to say that we've all, you know, pushed forward our thoughts, agendas, and what have you today in a way that is very meaningful, and I'm sure the audience will appreciate that. We are being watched on so many platforms. Trend Africa is currently broadcasting us. We are on ACO Radio, we're on Ghana Agenda, both YouTube and Facebook. Please, if this is one of the, you know, shows that you have just chanced on for the first time, we are here every Saturday from 2 p.m. And God knows when we close, right? When it gets interesting, we just keep going. So thank you so much. You've heard so many different things. The government's position has been explained from so many different angles. There are people who are for it. I am against it. And I'm sure my friend Lifetime Legacy is against it too. I'm against it for different reasons, perhaps different from what Lifetime is against it for. But this is the beauty of Ghana, right? Different ideas coming together to form a strong democracy. That's it's the envy of neighbors in the Sub-Sahara and even beyond. I would like to take this opportunity to say a big thank you to all my guests who took time out of their busy schedules to be here today and share, you know, their thoughts with us, and most especially to all you viewers and listeners who join us week by week and continue to support us through your comments, sharing our links, etc., etc. Today's numbers have been really wonderful and we appreciate it. Please come back next week. The topics will be announced somewhere on Wednesday or Thursday and the flyers will go out. We really appreciate you for coming. Again, my name is Alfred Amuzu and this is the Ghana Agenda for February 5th, 2022. Thank you, guys. See you again. All right. Where's my commercials?